A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
Kroger Tenderay Beef, no other beef so fresh can be so tender, presents Hearts in Harmony, transcribed. Say, Mother, hold on a minute. Don't make any definite plans for those big holiday dinners until you see the marvelous selection of poultry at your Kroger store. Without a doubt, they're the best buy-in birds in town. And you know why? Well, because Kroger's poultry is carefully selected for its tenderness, its juiciness, and real country fresh flavor. Why, once you see the grand selection of chickens and ducks and turkeys, you'll want them all. Yes, ma'am, Kroger's poultry is just tantalizingly delicious. And for an extra special dinner, you'll certainly want to serve your family this exclusive Kroger feature, famous 4-point blue ribbon turkey. Man, oh man, what a treat. They're just covered with juicy meat and chock full of fresh flavor, a flavor that will have your family sighing in contented delight. Now, there are 4 mighty good reasons why 4-point blue ribbon turkeys are outstandingly superior. It's because they're raised and developed into plump turkeys in carefully selected areas, because they're scientifically fed for flavor, then expertly dressed, and finally, they're personally selected to please you. So order yours without delay at your Kroger store, for it's the only place you can buy famous 4-point blue ribbon turkeys. And now, Hearts in Harmony. Penny's job as a laboratory assistant to Professor Stuart Rogers seemed as if it were a good thing until the wealthy Madeline Dodge spoke up for the job herself. The next day, Professor Rogers comes to Penny's house to tell her of a talk he had with Madeline late the day before. The professor says,
I know you were a little upset by Madeline's appearance in my office yesterday, so I thought I'd come and tell you something. I had a talk with her last night.
And, she isn't too disappointed that she didn't get the job herself?
Not a bit. I don't think she was really serious about wanting it herself.
She doesn't look like the type who'd care to work. Oh, I don't mean that in a derogatory way, Professor, believe me. Miss Dodge just never did work, and I don't know why she should want to now.
Well, I don't either. That's why I was sure from the beginning that she didn't really want the job.
No, Professor. Only you.
Only me. What does that mean?
Well, that means that her interest in working in the laboratory was not the work, but being near you.
Oh, no, Miss Gibbs. I don't think Miss Dodge is that serious about me.
No. Oh, by the way, just what do you call her, Madeline or Miss Dodge?
Why, Miss Dodge, don't I?
Except when you call her Madeline.
I call her Madeline?
Mm-hmm. Well, don't you blush about it. It's quite all right. After all, that's your name.
Oh, yes, I know, but I... Well...
Oh, Professor, it doesn't matter. At least it certainly doesn't to me. All I'm interested in is having that job in your laboratory and getting no trouble from Miss Dodge because of it.
Well, that's what I wanted to explain to you. I had a long talk with Miss Dodge last night, and she laughed about the idea of her going to work for me.
And, what did she say about my going to work for you?
Oh, she thought it was a good thing for both of us. She said she'd heard you needed a job rather badly, and she could see the value of my having an assistant who was also a personal friend.
That's what she said, Professor, but did she mean what she said?
Well, she said it in plain, simple, straightforward language, Miss Gibbs, and I could understand everything she said.
You could understand the words, Professor, and the meaning of the words. But could you understand her reason for saying them?
I suppose her reason was to dispel any fears either one of us might have that she'd cause trouble over this.
Oh, you were afraid there might be trouble,
No, not when I asked you to take the job, but I did have certain fears when Madeline walked into my office yesterday, and there was a look of real concern on her face when she heard that you had the job.
Oh, yes, it was real, too, Professor.
Well, no, it wasn't. It must have been my imagination.
Then we have twin imaginations, because I saw that look, too, and it was just what you said. Real. Very real.
Well, I don't think so, Miss Gibbs. If we both thought we saw a look of concern on her face, it was because we both feared the same thing from her. But we were both wrong. Miss Dodge isn't going to cause us any trouble. How can she?
You can do a lot of things with money, Professor, and Miss Dodge has a lot of money.
But she hasn't enough to buy Rossville University. And that's just exactly what she'd have to do to dictate what went on in my laboratory.
Well, I don't imagine even Madeline Dodge would buy a university just to cause trouble for anyone.
Oh, no, I don't imagine she would. So let's forget our worries with Miss Dodge, shall we?
All right, if you say we should.
I say we should.
Then we'll forget Miss Dodge completely.
And turn to more important matters,
Mm-hmm.
such as how you're coming along with your studies.
Well, teacher, I think I know lesson 1.
Good. Well, now sit down like a good student, and I'll give you a little quiz.
Oh, yes, teacher. But, what happens if I can't answer even the first question?
Oh, the first question's the easiest one.
Oh, is it?
The first question's always the easiest.
All right. I'll try to answer it.
Well, I'm sure you can if you studied your lesson.
I did, teacher, honestly.
All right, we'll see. Question 1.
Oh, I'm nervous.
No need to be nervous. I told you it'd be an easy question.
I know you said the question would be easy, but what about the answer?
Well, I'll pretend I didn't hear that, Miss Gibbs. Remember, I'm the teacher here.
Mm-hmm.
The questions come from me.
Yes, teacher. But make it as easy as you can.
Well, I told you, Miss Gibbs, the question would be very simple. In fact, this is what it is. Will you have dinner with me tonight?
Oh, the answer to that isn't given in lesson 1.
Oh, Miss Gibbs, maybe you're one of those students who skipped too many grades in primary school. I asked you a question any kindergarten pupil could answer, and yet you can't answer it.
Professor Rogers, do you ask kindergarten pupils to have dinner with you?
Miss Gibbs, I demand respect in my classroom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist. You're so serious, even when you're pretending.
Well, I'm not pretending, Miss Gibbs. I ask you a very serious question. Will you have dinner with me tonight?
Well, shall we stop playing school so I can give you a serious answer?
Yes, if it'll help.
School's out,
Uh-huh. It's out.
Well, then I'll be happy to go to dinner with you tonight, Professor Rogers.
You will?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why didn't you say so in the first place?
Because we were playing school. My mother never let me have dates on weeknights when I was in school.
Oh, for Pete's sake. Now, you remind me never to try to play games with you again, Miss Gibbs. Mm-hmm. You're much too far ahead of me at every turn. What time may I call for you? 8 o'clock?
Oh, yes. Yes, 8 o'clock will be fine.
Oh. Well, I'll see you at 8 then. And there won't be any pretending, please. No pretending school or anything else. I do much better.
Hello.
Hello. Is Penny Gibbs in?
No, ma'am, she isn't.
Oh, well, I'm Mrs. Billings, Penny's mother.
Miss Gibbs' mother?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crickets, come in.
Oh, thank you, dear. You must be Nora.
Yes, ma'am, Nora Williams. Oh, may I take your coat and hat and your bag?
Oh, no, thank you, dear. I can manage. So, you're Nora, are you?
Yes, ma'am. I've only been here a few days.
Yes, I know that. Penny's written me about you. I understand you're doing a wonderful job taking care of Valerie.
Oh, Miss Gibbs likes me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, crickets, that's super. I like it so much here, and I want Miss Gibbs to like me, too.
Well, she's more than satisfied with you, Nora.
Oh.
And if it means anything to you, I'm more than satisfied with you, too.
But, Mrs. Billings, you've just seen me a few minutes, and Daddy says you can never tell about anyone in a few minutes.
You can't about a lot of people, Nora. But about someone like you, I think you can. Penny tells me you're only 17.
Well, 17 is very grown up, and Daddy says I'm a lot older than my age.
Well, I certainly agree with your daddy about that. Tell me, Nora, is everything all right?
Everything, Mrs. Billings?
I mean, here, your job, the baby, and Penny. And please, dear, tell me the truth. Everything is as it should be?
Well, Mrs. Billings, I don't know what to say to that. My job is just super, and, the baby is scrumptious, and, well, I don't know what to tell you about Miss Gibbs. She's awfully nice to me and all that, and I think she's just super, too. But I don't know what else to tell you about.
You told me all I want to know, darling.
I have?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't told you anything. All I said was... Oh, I think I see what you mean now, Mrs. Billings.
I think you do, too, dear. You're very clever, aren't you?
Well, I don't know, Mrs. Billings. Just lucky, maybe.
Now, I have to be clever to see what you mean, don't I?
Oh, really, Mrs. Billings? Oh, this must be Miss Gibbs now.
Wonderful. I hope it isn't too much of a shock for her to find me here. I didn't tell her I was coming.
Mother. Hello, darling.
Mother,
How are
you? Oh, it's so good to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you. Oh, and I have so much to tell you. Nora, would you take Mother's suitcase upstairs?
Oh, why, yes, Miss Gibbs, right away.
Put them in my room, dear. Mother will sleep with me.
All right, and Mrs. Billings, the pink towels in the bathroom will be yours.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you very much. Penny, she's adorable.
Yeah, isn't she a beautiful girl?
Almost as pretty as you are.
Oh, I wish I had Nora's looks.
Well, darling, you're not 17.
No, I certainly am not. But, Mother, I have the most wonderful news.
What?
I have a job.
A job?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how wonderful. Where, dear?
In Professor Rogers' laboratory. The new laboratory at the university.
Oh, how grand.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful?
Then you and the professor are really getting along together.
Well, the job won't be ready for another week, or maybe even 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But, yes, indeed, we're getting along all right. Guess what?
I'm never very good at guessing what you're up to next. What is it, dear?
Oh, it's nothing I've done now. It's what the professor's done.
Well, what's he done besides give you a job?
Well, he's, invited me to dinner tonight.
Oh?
Mm-hmm.
But you've been invited to dinner before.
Oh, I know I have, but not by Professor Stuart Rogers.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
He's, started showing an interest in you?
Well, an interest in me in his own peculiar way.
There's nothing peculiar about it when he invites you to dinner, dear. Sounds like the beginning of something to me.
No, I didn't tell you because I thought it was anything like that. It's just that I never thought the professor would even bother very much about me.
And you were afraid you'd bother about him while he didn't bother Dad?
Oh, you know I'm not interested in Professor Rogers. Not that way.
No?
No.
Well, you're acting like a schoolgirl about this dinner date, dear.
No, I'm not. I'm just very pleased, that's all. Yes, sir, I've actually brought the professor out of his shell.
Be careful trying to bring people out of their shells, darling. You're in sort of a shell of your own, you know.
Am I? Well, in that case, I'll be safe.
Don't be too sure, dear. To break someone else's shell, you'll first have to climb out of your own. And out of your shell, just how safe are you?
Well, is Mrs. Billings right? Is Penny falling in love with Professor Rogers without knowing it? Is Professor Rogers in love with Penny? Be sure to listen to the next dramatic episode of Hearts in Harmony. Friends, with the holidays just around the corner, now is the time to think about poultry. And when you think about poultry, let me urge you to think about Kroger Poultry, because Kroger offers you the best birds in town. That sounds like a large claim, but it's a fact that your own cooking will prove. You see, these Kroger birds are naturally better, plumper, more tender, juicier, and full of that real country fresh flavor. For instance, those 4-point blue ribbon turkeys, the real aristocrat of the poultry kingdom. Now, these great turkeys are better for 4 reasons. First, they're raised in the best turkey-raising areas by master turkey growers. Next, they're scientifically fed to make them plump and tender. Then they're expertly dressed, the way you yourself would dress a prize bird. And finally, the ones that are chosen for your Kroger store are specially selected to please discriminating folks like you. It's no wonder they come out of your oven tasting better. Yes, you'll say you've never cooked a bird as good as a 4-point blue ribbon turkey. Order one at your Kroger store now. Now your local announcer.
The story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned the homicide detail. An attractive blonde secretary is found beaten to death in a downtown office building. You've only one lead to start with, a length of steel pipe wrapped in heavy paper. There's no trace of the killer. Your job? Get him. Why are thousands and thousands of king-size cigarette smokers switching to Fatima every day?
Because in Fatima, the difference is quality.
You see, Fatima contains the finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild, to give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
So compare Fatima yourself today.
You'll find Fatima gives you all the advantages of extra length, plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Remember, Fatimas cost the same as the cigarette you're now smoking.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Wednesday, September 28th. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romano. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the crime lab, and it was 11:48 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide. Romero? Ben? Hey, Romero?
Not here. You, Friday?
Oh, yeah. Lopi, how are you? You seen Romero around the last half hour? Supposed to meet him here.
Well, he's come and gone. Still around the building, though. Got a call.
What was it about, do you know?
Yeah, I was on that killing tonight. Call came from one of the cruiser cars checking the neighborhood down where it happened.
Yeah? Did they find something?
Picked up a guy about 3 blocks from the murder scene, acting suspicious. Men in the cruiser car figured maybe you'd want to talk to him.
They're bringing the man in now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You been over checking with the crime lab?
Yeah, there's not much. The murder weapon's about all we got so far. It's a piece of pipe with heavy manila paper wrapped around it.
Uh-huh. Light and prints do any good?
Yeah, they lifted a lot of fingerprints. They all belong to the victim. None of them are foreign.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you got a toothpick, Joe? And corn on the cob from there.
No, I haven't. Why don't you try the top drawer over there in Mike Pena's desk? He usually has some.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I understand there wasn't much to look at. The killing, I mean.
It was a pretty vicious thing. The girl took a terrible beating.
Oh. Who found the body?
One of the scrub women in the building. It was an office up on the 9th floor, import-export company. Victim was a secretary there. She's a pretty girl.
Mm-hmm. She dead long?
Must have happened around 7 o'clock tonight. That's my figure. It's just a guess.
Uh-huh. What's the girl's name? Been identified yet?
Yeah, Adele Pryor. Her boss is out of town. She was working in the office alone. There was no one suspicious seen entering or leaving the office around the time of the murder. There's no one we know of, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of checking. Yeah. Any idea what the motive could have been?
Well, it wasn't robbery. They didn't keep any cash in the office. As far as we know, the girl wasn't carrying much money. We'll start making the rounds in the morning, checking with her friends, see what we can pick up.
Mm-hmm. Joe Friday, you on?
Yeah, I'm right here. Back here, Ben.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi.
Hi. They bring the guy in, Ben?
Mm-hmm. Lopi brief you about it, Joe.
Yeah, a cruiser car picked up a suspicious-looking guy near the murder scene. Is that about the size of it?
Little more than that. They found the man beating his head against a brick wall in a back alley about 2 blocks from the office building where we found the body.
Uh-huh.
Guy'd been drinking heavily, and when they picked him up, he's pretty far gone. Kept mumbling something about how he didn't deserve to live, how he's a murderer, killer. Not too coherent.
Mm-hmm. They asked him about the dead girl, Adele Pryor?
Yeah, but the stuff he said didn't make much sense. He sobered up a little since he picked him up. We might as well see what we can get out of him before we book him in, huh? Got him in the interrogation room now.
Okay. Give it a try, anyway. Any calls come in, you know where to find us, Lopi.
Yeah, sure, right, Joe.
Thanks a lot.
You checked with the crime lab, Joe?
Yeah, about all we're sure of is the murder weapon. No prints, no other physical evidence.
Maybe it won't matter. Got half an idea we might have the killer now.
The guy they picked up? How'd he figure?
Just a hunch. I don't think he's as drunk as he pretends.
Well, we're going to have to place him a lot closer to the murder scene than 2 blocks away. You can't prove a thing the way it stands.
I was downstairs when they brought the man in. I talked to him while they were bringing up to the interrogation room.
Yeah.
Told me he knows the dead girl.
All right.
Said he was with her an hour before she died.
Shortly before 8 o'clock that night, a scrub woman in a downtown office building near the intersection of 8th and South Grand Avenue entered an office on the 9th floor of the building to do her usual cleaning chores. Lying face down behind a desk in the small office, she found the body of 28-year-old Secretary Adele Pryor beaten to death. When we arrived at the scene, routine investigation began, but almost immediately we found ourselves down a blind alley. Repeated questioning of all persons in or about the office building failed to turn up anything in the way of leads. Thorough investigation of the murder scene by the crime lab crew met with the same kind of luck. They knew they had the murder weapon. That was all. The deputy coroner arrived and removed the body to the morgue for posting. At 10 o'clock that night, 3 hours after the approximate time of the Pryor girl's death, officers in a cruiser car patrolling the area found a drunken man butting his head against a cement wall and muttering incoherently about a murder. He was picked up and taken immediately to the interrogation room where Ben and I questioned him. We'd talked to him a full hour before he began to make sense. He gave his name as Robert French, age 34, an unemployed electrical engineer. While we questioned him, 2 men from homicide were sent to check the hotel room where French told us he was staying.
I don't know. I guess I had 3 or 4 drinks at Dusty's place, and I went down the street to the Blue Canary, had some more drinks there. I don't remember what happened after that. I wasn't feeling so good.
You say you were drinking at Dusty's place around 7 p.m., is that right, Frank?
Suppose so. I wasn't watching the clock. I guess it was around 7.
Well, did you talk to anybody while you were in the bar?
No, just the bartender. His name's Sarge. I don't know his last name. He'll tell you I was there.
What time was it when you got to Dusty's place, French?
I couldn't tell you for sure. About 6:30 maybe. Sarge could probably tell you, the bartender.
When you were coming up in the elevator, you told us you knew Adele Pryor.
Yeah, I knew her. Used to work for her husband. Her ex-husband, I mean. They've been divorced 7, 8 years now.
Mm-hmm. You said you saw Adele Pryor in her office late this afternoon, French. What was the reason for the visit?
I borrowed a couple of dollars from her. She was always pretty good that way. Nice kid. Don't know why anybody'd want to kill her like that.
Well, how about the show that you were putting on out in the street tonight, French? Beating your head against that wall? What was that all about?
Drunk. Really drunk. Felt so low I wanted to kill myself. Just lay down and die.
Well, how's that? You remorseful? Felt sorry for something you'd done?
I don't know. I don't think of any special reason for it when I get that way. I just keep thinking I want to die.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't got the nerve for it, though. I know that. Like my old man always used to tell me, I haven't got the nerve to do anything right. Just wasn't born that way. I guess that's it.
Do you use narcotics, French?
No, I haven't even got the nerve for that. Booze, that's all. It's good enough for me. Say, do you think we could go out for a cup of coffee? Maybe I could use it.
We'll have some brought up, huh? Ben, do you mind going down the hall and check with Lopey? Ask him to have some coffee brought up, huh?
Yeah, okay.
And see if those 2 men have checked back in yet, will you?
Right.
Appreciate it, Sergeant. Sure can be mean when all this booze wears off.
I'd like to ask you a little more about the Pryor girl, French. Just how well did you know her?
Not too well. Guess I used to see her maybe once a month.
Mm-hmm. Up there at her office?
Yeah, that's right. She was a nice girl. Whenever I was broke, I could always depend on her for a couple of bucks. I liked her. She was a nice person.
Did you ever go out with her?
No, never did. No romance stuff. I didn't like her that way. She was just a good person. We got along okay.
Mm-hmm. You want a cigarette?
No thanks. Mm-hmm. My mouth's full of cotton already.
Mm-hmm. How about this business of Adele Pryor lending you money? She think quite a bit of you?
Well, I did her a couple of favors once. When I was working for her husband, she was still married to him. She was going out with a guy she liked on the side. She was out with this guy once, and I saw them together. She asked me not to say anything, so I didn't. Before she got a divorce, I used to cover up for her all the time. She never forgot it, I guess.
Uh-huh. How about when you saw her in her office tonight, French? How'd she seem? All right to you?
Yeah, same as ever. I asked her if she could lend me a $5, and she did. I left. It was about 6:15, I guess.
There anyone else in the office when you left?
Yeah. There was a guy waiting in the little reception room there. Didn't know who he was.
Do you remember what he looked like?
Well, tall fella, about my size, my age.
Uh-huh.
Joe, can I see you a minute?
Yeah.
Dorothy and Brian have checked in and just got back from going over French's hotel room.
They find anything?
White shirt, a pair of brown shoes, a pair of dark trousers.
What about them?
Bloodstains on all of them.
The stained pieces of clothing found in the suspect's hotel room were delivered to Lieutenant Lee Jones at the crime lab for detailed examination. Coffee was brought in, and Ben and I continued to question French until about 4 a.m. He denied any knowledge or complicity in the killing of 28-year-old Adele Pryor. He told us the blood-stained clothing in his hotel room was the result of an accident he'd been in 2 weeks before when he'd been drinking heavily. He was checked through R&I while we talked to him, but he had no previous criminal record. French kept insisting that we check on the tall, dark-haired man who'd been waiting in the reception room of the Pryor girl's office the night before when French left her. We gave the description of the suspect, along with the M.O., to the Stats office, requesting them to furnish us with any information regarding any assaults or any solved or unsolved murder. At 4:15 a.m., we booked in Robert French at the main jail on suspicion of 187 P.C., murder. The next morning at 10 a.m., the legwork began. Lopez and Doherty from Homicide started checking on the background and alibi of the suspect, Robert French. It didn't hold much water. None of the people at either of the bars where French said he'd been drinking at the time of the murder could definitely vouch for his presence, but they all volunteered the information that no matter how much he drank, French was never violent toward other people, only himself. Lopez and Doherty continued investigating the suspect while Ben and I checked on the background of the victim, Adele Pryor. At 8:25 p.m., we got back to the office.
Hi. Been waiting for you, too.
Loping, you and Doherty do any good?
Nothing to celebrate over. Long day, tired feet.
What'd you find out, Lopey? Anything new at all?
Oh, maybe French is our man. Can't prove it by me. Every place we checked, everybody we talked to, same answer.
Yeah?
He's a smart guy with a good education. He's on the bottle and he's out of work. Everybody seems to like him. He gets drunk, but he never bothers anybody. That's about the worst anybody can say about him. Drinks too much.
Well, how about his being friends with the dead girl? Did you dig up anything there?
Yeah, it only proves he was telling you the truth, though. As far as we could find out, there was nothing going between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we got only verifies what he told you. He had no interest in the girl except a bar offer when he was broke.
You got in touch with the girl's ex-husband, did you?
Yeah, he couldn't add anything. All clear there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, by the way, here, Lee Jones called from the crime lab just before you came in.
What did he have, Loping?
Finished testing the blood stains on those clothes they found in French's hotel room. None of the stains on them match the victim's blood type. It's another dead end.
Yeah, it's sure hard to figure. You got anything else, Lopey?
Oh, yeah.
You've got me stuff.
A report for you from the Stats office.
Oh, thank you.
He asked to make a run for you last night, didn't
Yeah, I did.
What's it look like?
Just a minute. Yeah, well, it doesn't help much. Looks like more legwork.
What's that, Joe?
Well, French told us when he left Adele Pryor last night there was a man in the reception room waiting to see her. He gave us the guy's description, and the Stats office made a run on it for us. This is the best one they got.
Yeah?
The guy's name is William Tanner, WMA, 33 years old, 6'1", 195 pounds, dark hair, dark complexion.
Fits the description French gave us of the guy.
The rest of it's a lot closer to home.
How do you mean?
William Tanner was a prominent suspect in the Donaldson murder last September. Testimony of friends and relatives subsequently cleared him. Donaldson's murder is still unsolved.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's the point?
Well, the same thing that killed Donaldson killed Adele Pryor.
What do you mean?
A piece of steel pipe wrapped in paper. To the working detective assigned to examine a criminal case, the element of coincidence, when it occurs, generally serves to complicate any investigation. Toward the solution of the crime, coincidence may mean a lot or it may mean nothing. In any event, it can't be dismissed. This time we had two examples of coincidence to deal with. A girl had been beaten to death in an office building. Within 2 blocks of the murder scene, we found a man fairly well acquainted with the victim who admitted seeing the girl within an hour of her death. Primary investigation uncovered some facts which tended to incriminate the man, some facts which tended to prove him innocent. Was his presence in the immediate neighborhood of the killing only coincidental, or was he there at the particular time for the purpose of murder? We didn't know. By the same token, a man by the name of William Tanner was suspected 1 year before of beating an elderly woman to death with an identical murder weapon, a length of steel pipe wrapped in paper. This same person, William Tanner, matched the description of a man reportedly seen entering Adele Pryor's office shortly before she was murdered. Tanner also had a criminal record of 1 conviction for assault. Maybe it was a lead, maybe it was nothing. It had to be checked out. We showed Tanner's mugshot to our first murder suspect, Robert French, but he failed to identify it. We went to William Tanner's last known address, but he'd moved. We checked with his next of kin, his brother, Martin Tanner. He was with the city fire department. We found him on duty at the neighborhood fire station on Norwich Avenue.
No, I'm afraid not, Sergeant. I haven't seen my brother Bill in 3 weeks now. If he's not at his apartment, I couldn't tell you where to find him.
We tried the last address we had on him. He wasn't there. 8625 Norman Road?
Oh, no. He moved out of there 6-7 months ago. I got his new address in my locker. I can give it to you if you want.
We'd appreciate it, yeah.
Okay, back this way and then upstairs.
All right.
What's it about, Sergeant? My brother in some kind of trouble again, I guess, huh?
Oh, it's just a routine check.
You sound like you almost expect your brother to be in trouble, Tanner.
Well, to tell you the truth, I guess I do. I don't know what... Excuse me a minute. No, it's not our call.
Well, how would you mean that, Tanner? What's happened to your brother?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know. Bill and I used to live together with our mother. Ma died about 2 years ago. I don't think Bill ever really got over it. He was a lot closer to Ma than I was.
I see.
After she died, he drank quite a bit for a while, then he tried women, lots of them. After that, he turned to religion. We thought that'd help. It would have, too. except that he's an odd guy. He even finds ways of distorting the Bible. I guess he's still pretty religious. He goes to all the revivals, the tent meetings, all that kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Do you know any of his women friends?
Yeah, I do. 2 or 3 of them.
How about the name Adele Pryor? Does that mean anything to you?
Would she be kind of a pretty girl, blonde hair, nice clothes?
Yeah, that's right.
Have you met her, Tanner?
Yeah, Bill had me meet her once. He seemed to like her quite a bit. Why?
Was he pretty serious about her, or would you know that?
Yeah, he was serious about her, all right. He told me that. I don't think it worked both ways, though. Looked to me like she was playing the field. Bill took it way too serious.
How do you mean?
Well, they went together steady for a while, and then they broke it up. She did, I mean.
Mm-hmm. How'd your brother take that?
Not so good. I remember the night about a month ago. Never saw Bill like that before. Real bad shape. Wasn't drinking either.
Is that so?
Never saw Bill like that in my life.
Like what, Tanner?
Off his head. He could have gone out and killed a girl.
Before we left the fire station, we got William Tanner's new address from his brother, Martin. It was the same address as that of the murdered girl, Adele Pryor, an apartment house close by the intersection of Wilshire and La Brea. Tanner's apartment was on the 3rd floor, just down the hall from the Pryor girl's apartment. But Tanner wasn't there. The apartment manager told us he'd moved out the night before without leaving a forwarding address. Ben put in a call to the suspect's place of business, an industrial chemical company, where Tanner was employed as assistant office manager.
What was the reason, sir? Oh, I see, Yeah, well, all right, thanks very much. We'll be checking with you later. What?
What'd they say?
Tanner left yesterday, quit without giving any notice. Told him he had a better job lined up.
Where?
South America.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. If you smoke king-size cigarettes, listen to Fatima's amazing new offer.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you don't like Fatimas better than the king-size cigarette you're now smoking, return the pack with the unused Fatimas and we'll give you your money back, plus postage.
We make this amazing offer because we believe Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes.
Smokers all over the country are confirming this every day.
Here is the latest state-by-state report.
State 1, Fatima sales up 72%. 2, sales up 54%. 3, sales up 107%. 4, sales up 192%. And those are just a few.
Remember, if you're not convinced Fatima is better than your present king-size cigarette, just return the pack with the unsmoked Fatimas before December 1st and get your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1. Buy Fatimas, best of all king-size cigarettes.
Saturday, October 1st, 8 a.m. We got out a broadcast and an APB on murder suspect William Tanner. We checked with the local U.S. State Department office, but they had no record of granting a passport recently to a William Tanner to travel in a South American country. We talked to the various consulates in the city representing South American nations, but none of them had issued a visa to a William Tanner recently or anyone answering his description. Together with Brian and Lopez from Homicide, Ben and I continued the search for the missing suspect. The deeper we checked into his background, the more we became convinced that mentally, Tanner was far from normal. Most of the people who knew the suspect told us the same story his brother had given us. In recent months, Tanner had taken strongly to religion. He attended revival meetings and similar religious exercises every night in the week. He talked nothing but repentance. He quoted the scriptures constantly. He adopted the habit of carrying a Bible with him wherever he went, reading from it aloud every chance he got. He kept urging his friends to join him in being saved. On Monday, October 3rd, we began a check of the various revival halls. On Wednesday, October 5th, we found him. He was attending a gospel revival in a meeting hall in the south end of the city. He told us he had a room in a small hotel directly above the meeting hall, but he seemed reluctant to take us up there. While Lopez and Brian got a pass key from the manager and went up to check the room, Ben and I questioned Tanner downstairs in the lobby of the meeting hall.
I'm sorry to hear about Adele. What happened to her? It's a terrible thing, isn't it?
Yes, sir. We understand you knew Adele Pryor fairly well, Mr. Tanner. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I liked her quite a bit at one time. We used to see a lot of each other. I was engaged to her, you know.
Well, how is it you never married, Tanner? Did she break off the engagement?
No, I was lucky. I found out in time. I broke off with her.
Well, how do you mean you found out in time? What'd you find out?
I found the truth, Sergeant, the everlasting word.
But know this and understand, that no unclean person or covetous one has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and God. For these have given themselves up in despair to sensuality, greedily practicing every kind of uncleanness. Do not then become partakers with them. That's the everlasting word, Sergeant, the Holy Book.
Yes, sir. I'm not quite sure I follow you.
Open your eyes and ears to the everlasting word, and you will know and understand all things. It's very simple, officer. I don't want to say anything uncharitable about her. Adele wasn't for me. I'm glad I found out in time, that's all.
Mm-hmm. When's the last time you saw her, Tanner? Do you remember?
No, I don't. Not exactly. I think I saw her a week or so before it happened, before they found her dead.
Where was that you saw her?
How's that?
I say, where was it the last time you saw her?
On the street. It was downtown somewhere. I passed her on the street.
You used to live in the same apartment house she did, isn't that right? Just down the hall from her?
Yes, sir, I did. Why?
And for a full week, you didn't happen to see the prior girl around the apartment building at all?
No, that's right. When I broke off with Adele, that was it. I had no reason to see her anymore.
Well, it's not too clear, Tanner. It doesn't jibe with what we've been told about you and the prior girl.
Well, the lies, of course. I suppose you know that. Adele was a beautiful girl, very beautiful. A lot of men she knew were jealous of her.
Well, the way we understand it, Tanner, you never did break off with Miss Pryor. You were going around with her, and you were seen with her right up to the day of her death.
Well, that's certainly a lie, and I can prove that as soon as I found out about Adele. That was weeks before she was killed. As soon as I found out, that was the end. I broke off with her right away.
I'd like to know what you're referring to, Tanner. You found out what?
Adele, she was one of those.
Huh?
I'm sorry, she was. The sinner. I almost went out of my mind when I found out. She knew it was wrong. She must have known. It was right there in the book for anybody to read. Do not let sin reign in your mortal body so that you obey its lusts.
Now, look, Tanner, what are you trying to tell us?
It was terrible. She sinned all the time. She committed terrible sins. Will you come into this side room over here? I can tell you all about her. I'd just as soon not talk about it here.
Sure, go ahead.
In here.
Just one question before you get started, Tanner.
Yes?
Did you ever visit Adele Pryor at her place of business downtown at her office?
No, I never did. Why?
Did you visit Adele Pryor at her office the day she was killed?
The Lord is my witness, Sergeant. I have nothing to fear. Why should you ask me that question?
We have a report that you were seen going into the office less than an hour before the Pryor girl was murdered. I'd like to have you clarify that for us, if you would.
Certainly. It's a lie.
You're sure you weren't in that office with her just before she died?
Well, let me tell you about her sins. There was never anything as evil as this, Sergeant.
Is that right?
Yes, it was a terrible shock. I liked Adele. I think I loved her. We'd been going out for 2 months. Sometimes I'd take her here so that she could learn about the everlasting word, so that she could know about the terrible sins some people commit. Oh, drinking and parties and carryings on. Things no one should do, especially girls like Adele. Beautiful girl.
How can you be sure she was doing anything wrong, Tanner? Do you have any real proof of that?
Everything, Sergeant, I knew. Just knowing that she was sinning against the Lord.
Did you know any of the other men she went out with?
They were sinful, I knew that. They only liked Adele because she was beautiful.
Did you know any of the men, Tanner? Did you know for a fact that there was anything wrong?
I knew everything, Sergeant. She was a beautiful girl, and I thought she was a woman of the Lord, and I wanted her for my wife. But she gave in to sin.
Now, I guess that's her business, Tanner, how she lived. We're trying to find out how she died.
Well, just let me tell you about it. I'd lie there in the dark in my room upstairs, and I'd wait to hear her come in down the hall. It was always late. 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning I'd hear her come in.
You still haven't told us, Tanner. What about the men she went out with, this prior girl?
Slaves of the devil, every one of them. I thought I'd go out of my mind.
All right, now, come on. You want to tell us, mister, how about it? Is that what made you do it?
No, wait a minute. You don't want to wait to listen. You say made me do it. Made me do what?
I think you know what we mean, Tanner. You want to tell us now?
It's a terrible thing. All this sin around us. It's a grave thing. The whole world. There is not one just man. There is none who understands. There is none who seeks after God. There is none who does good. No, not even one. Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues they have dealt deceitfully. The venom of asps is beneath their lips. Their mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Destruction and misery are in their ways, and the path of peace they have not known. There's no fear of God before their eyes. No fear of God.
Yes, sir. We'd still like an answer to our question. Maybe we could talk a little better downtown.
The wisdom and the knowledge is here and now. I knew Adele and her terrible sins. They had to be paid for. Adele had to pay for every one of them.
You want to get to the point, mister. Now, what is it? What are you trying to tell us?
The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the charity of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Amen. So she sinned and so she died.
Yeah.
In the name of God and in the name of our Lord. Amen. I killed her.
William Harold Tanner was brought downtown immediately, where he volunteered a complete statement admitting full guilt for the murder of Adele Pryor. Blood-stained clothing found in his room corroborated his story. It was obvious that the man was mentally unbalanced. He gave us the details of how he murdered Adele Pryor because she spurned his attentions. We began questioning him about the Donaldson murder, which had taken place more than a year before and which was still unsolved. The victim, 64-year-old Louise Donaldson, had met death in the same manner as Adele Pryor.
No, I didn't know the old lady, but she had money. I've been told that. I was broke and I needed the cash, so I thought it'd be a good thing.
This was in September a year ago that you murdered her.
Yes, sir, September, all right. She was all alone. She didn't have anybody. She was sick. I probably did her a favor.
Your package here says that you figured in the investigation on the plot to blow up the Rexmoor Hotel about 3 years ago, homemade bomb planted in the basement of the hotel?
Yes, that was mine 3 years ago in September. You never could have traced it. Too bad the bomb didn't go off. I hated those hotel people.
Is that right? What was the matter?
I worked at that hotel once, you know. Worked hard, too. One Saturday, they held up my paycheck. I didn't get it till next Tuesday. Never forgot that. September.
September. Now, what's that got to do with it?
I don't know, really. September's always been the time, that's all. I work into some kind of trouble. Last 4 years, every September. I don't know what it is. Seems to be the best time to get rid of them. Yeah, September. It's always September.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really want to kill Adele. There wasn't anything else I could do. She was a sinner.
Yeah.
Drinking, running around. She committed sins all the time. Worst kind of sins. Terrible.
Let me tell you, maybe you better check the book, Tanner. You're way ahead of her.
What do you mean?
What kind of sin's worse than murder?
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On January 10th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now here is our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, I'd like to remind you once again of Fatima's new offer. Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness. See if you don't like Fatimas better than the king-size cigarettes you're now smoking. If you don't, just return the pack with the unsmoked Fatimas and we'll see to it that you get your money back, plus postage. Fair enough? Remember, more and more smokers all over the country are switching to Fatima. I'm convinced you will, too, because I sincerely believe Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. Buy Fatima.
Further investigation proved beyond a doubt that William Tanner, besides murdering Adele Pryor, had also taken the life of 64-year-old Louise Donaldson the year before, and that he was responsible for the attempted bombing of the Rexmoor Hotel the year before that. After examination by 3 psychiatrists appointed by the state, the suspect was found to be sane at the time of the murders. Tanner was convicted of first-degree murder and received the death penalty. He was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the state penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Stay tuned for Counter Spy, next on NBC.
Ladies and gentlemen, the American Broadcasting Company brings to its entire network one of radio's most unusual programs. Pat Novak, For Hire.
Sure. I'm Pat Novak. For hire. The sign out in front of my office says, Pat Novak for hire. You don't get in the blue book that way, but you don't embarrass your friends either. Because down on the waterfront in San Francisco, they don't separate the good and the bad. They let them run together. And before long, you got a caste system. You're either alive or dead. If you're on top, you keep fading the crowd and trying for sevens until you lose the dice. It's not the only way to play it, unless you like worms. I rent boats and do anything else that'll put a fast handle on a buck, but it doesn't always work out because down here all your luck is junior grade and trouble is trumps. I found that out Tuesday night. It was the first time I ever saw Rubin Callaway, and the last time, too, if you like to keep a tidy record. It was about 7 o'clock, and I'd just started back across the bay from Sausalito. You could still see Mount Tamalpais squatting on the Marin shore, light brown near the top, but dark and black farther down, like a cupcake that's been in the oven a little too long. A low fog was beginning to squeeze in on the far side, so I kicked in the searchlight, and that's when I picked him up. He was struggling feebly with his face near the water, and he was almost bald, so that when the light hit him, he looked like a cantaloupe that somebody got tired of. I pulled alongside and started to haul him aboard. He brought most of the bay with him.
Help me. Please help me.
Yeah, well, wait till I get a hold of you, will you? Come on. There. Sit down. No, here. Lean against the gunwale.
Yeah, thanks.
Is the water red or you've been shot a little?
Do you have to know everything?
No, it's your load. Carry it, mister.
Yeah.
Move your feet. I got to get us ashore.
If you like it, go ahead. But don't hurry for me.
Well, if you feel that way about it, pick another spot to die in. Go back in the bay where you'll have company.
You've got to help me. I want you to get in touch with a girl named Alma Biggs.
Yeah?
You'll find her at the Empire Club out on Geary Street. My name's Reuben Callaway. Tell her about me. She'll pay you for it.
What'd she do, collect bodies?
Just give her this key. It's for a locker down in the bus station.
Now, look, Pop, you don't know me. Suppose I use the key.
You can't spend it. You better take the money.
All right.
Just see Alma and tell her it didn't work out. It didn't work out for me at all. I guess that's right, huh?
On the big things, you're 100%.
I don't need a check. Oh.
You're set up. I told you I don't want you dying in here.
Stop beefing, fella. You don't have all the bad luck.
They must have sent a fast chariot because when I leaned over, the guy was dead. And he was working hard at it, too. He was a skinny little guy, all bent up and twisted in the bottom of the boat like an old paper clip. It wouldn't do any good to straighten him out because he wasn't going to sleep easy. His eyes were open and rolling around at the sky as if he was on the make for a star. And the skin hung loose around his face so that when you touched it, it felt like an empty baked potato. I pushed him into a corner and started for Pier 19. When I got there, I hauled him on the dock and went down to call homicide. Must have been about 8:30 when I took a cab out to the Empire Club. It was a gambling joint out on Geary Street where they cut their whiskey and cards in different rooms. I asked the guy at the window if he knew Alma Biggs, and he pointed her out by the roulette table. She was wearing a white satin evening gown, and as I walked up behind her, I noticed she moved in rhythm with the roulette wheel. It was interesting. If it had been a merry-go-round, they'd have pinched her. I squeezed in next to her at the table, and I was thinking of trying it again when she started to talk.
It's a tight fit. Are you sure you like it?
I'm not going to stay long.
That's what Rudolph Hess said.
Make your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Gamblers, make your bets.
Stake me, Alma.
I can't afford you, darling.
Well, go broke for Reuben Callaway, then. 4 on the red.
I ought to keep you for luck, darling. Will you comb your hair?
I'll take the chips. They'd look bad on Callaway.
Oh. It's too crowded here. Let's find a closet.
All right.
Did he look pretty?
For a fish, he was all right.
How are you?
Pat Novak. I picked him up in the bay. He said to look you up and tell you it didn't work out.
That would please Turk.
Yeah? Who's Turk?
The reason it didn't work out. that all, Mr. Novak?
Except for a key. It fits a bus station locker here.
You keep it, Mr. Novak.
It won't buy anything. Now, look, sweetheart, I picked up your boy and dried him out, but that's all. We were small friends at best, so the service has stopped.
You can come to a slow stop for $200. Take the key and pick up what's in that locker. I'll get it from you later.
Yeah?
I'll meet you in an hour. Where's a good place? Your apartment?
Well, it's a place.
I'll find it in the book. I hope you don't mind.
No, the thin walls will save me. What's in the locker?
What would it prove?
Proves you got a small mouth, Angel.
Unless you're going to kiss it, don't worry. 9:30 then?
All right.
I'll bring the 200 with me.
Don't worry about the dough.
Oh?
Because I scooped your chips off the table. See you later. She stood there watching me as I walked over to the cashier's window. She gave you a nice warm feeling like a Bunsen burner in the middle of your back. And as she stood there in the center of the floor smiling, you knew she could turn a glacier into a steam bath at 400 yards. A nice little mouse that made you want to go home and test all the old traps. Well, I cashed in her chips, and the boy at the window shoved out 200 rocks in a pained look as if he'd just handed over his right lung. I got a cab and rode down to the bus station at 7th and Market. There were a few people sitting at the counter and a couple of old men on the benches waiting for somebody to get up and leave the funny papers. I went over near the wall and opened up the locker. It was a long trip for a small package. It was a square manila envelope, and there was an address up in the corner. Rubin, Callaway, photographer. I squeezed the envelope, and it felt like photographs, but I wasn't sure. I started to close the locker when I turned, and then I tumbled for the first time. It's like getting a drop of rain on your hand before you ever look up at the sky. The two of them were standing over by the cigar counter watching me. A guy with a heavy overcoat and a little small guy about the size of a hangnail. It wouldn't do any good to sit down because I knew they'd stay until somebody condemned the building, so I walked past them out onto the street. There was a cab standing right in front.
Cab, mister?
Yeah. Swing up toward the St. Francis, will you?
Yeah,
Now, look, you're going to be tailed, so brush up on your alleys.
if you like it that way.
Hey, you were supposed to take a left there on Mission.
I got a license. Where's yours?
I told you to double back over Market.
Look, get out and walk if you don't like it. I've been bought, mister.
Oh, my two friends.
That's right. You should have come first.
I ought to part your hair.
You got more chance with them. Here we are.
Where you going?
You like alleys, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Take it easy, fella. You're not going anywhere.
You were nice while you lasted.
Take it easy. You better walk up a wall. They'll block the alley. See?
Crowded alley, huh?
Yeah.
Give me the envelope so we can all get out.
Can Junior help you?
Give me the envelope. There. Now let's see it. Yeah, it's still sealed.
You all through?
I don't know. I'll see. You like him, Joe?
No.
That's the way it is, mister. He don't like you.
I slid down like an old sock on a bony leg. I rolled over a couple of times and tried to stand up, but it wasn't easy. You might as well try to find a hair in a bowl of chop suey. Well, it began to rain, and I figured it'd be easier to float out to the street, so I went to sleep. When I woke up, the rain hadn't helped the alley much. It's like washing your kid's face and finding out he was ugly to start with. The mud had washed up against the walls, and there was a thick, sour smell, and down the alley across the street there was a part of a sign sticking out that said Eats. And that isn't what you felt like at all. I started groping around to get up, and my hand hit the pictures. They were scattered all over like clothes in a boarding school. I picked them up and started for the street. On the way up in the cab, I got a chance to look at them, and they didn't make sense. There were 6 of them, and they were all just about the same, a bunch of mob scenes of that fire over in Oakland. I didn't have time to figure it out because the cab pulled up in front of the St. Francis, and I went in to call Alma Biggs and tell her the party was off. Part of that alley must have come with me, because when I walked into the lobby, the doorman looked at me as if I'd just blown up a nunnery. I tried the number once, but nobody answered. I decided to wait 20 minutes and call again. That was a mistake because I just got in the booth and started to dial when somebody started rapping on the door with a nickel. It was Hellman from Homicide.
Hello, Novak. Come on out. You can't get a date in that suit.
What do you want, Hellman?
Come on out. Oh, you're a hard man to find.
Well, you don't look in the right places.
I'm a family man. Tell me about the dead guy.
I don't know, Hellman. He died in my boat. That's all I know.
He didn't say anything?
Just sentimental stuff. His name's Rubin Callaway. Somebody threw him in the bay without instructions. I don't know a thing about him except he takes pictures.
Yeah?
Oh, wipe off the drool. They're not your kind.
Who are his friends?
He's got new ones by now. I don't know, Hellman.
How about that guy up in your couch?
Huh?
I just left your place. How about that guy on the couch?
There's a gal up there, but that's all.
Does she wear suspenders?
Huh?
Then take my word, it's a man.
And you're going to tell me he's dead, Hellman.
No, I'm not going to tell you he's dead, Novak. He may be a soft breather.
When Hellman mentioned the stiff up at my place, I knew we were going to be in low gear the rest of the night because Hellman isn't an easy guy. He wouldn't give his wife an aspirin if she had concussion of the brain. He took me out the side door and we rode up to my apartment. The dead guy was lying on the couch with his arms across his chest as if he wanted somebody to give him a lily or a way out of this. The lamp was shining down in his face and the light was distorted, but when you stood over him, you could see his face was the color of pressed seaweed. If he had anything to be happy about, you couldn't tell, because his mouth was open and hung over to one side like a loose change purse filled with old teeth. His clothes were rumpled and his shirt was open at his neck. You could see a chain around his neck and a silver medal in the dull light against his chest. It looked out of place and made you feel funny, like seeing a picture of a Madonna in a bowling alley. I watched him while Hellman made noise.
He still looks like a man.
Yeah? Who is he?
George Leggett.
What does that prove?
Who his mother was. We're checking for a record. The gun, too.
What gun?
One was lying here on the floor. I want to know if it's the same gun that killed Rubin Callaway.
Well, you'll need some prints.
Anybody can buy a handkerchief. Where were you tonight?
In an alley down near Mission Street.
You like it down there?
It's all right. You'd like it. I got shoved in and pushed around for these pictures.
They don't look like the right kind of pictures.
Well, I can't explain that, Hellman. Maybe they took the good ones.
How do you fit in?
Callaway gave me a key to a locker down in the bus station. It was for a girl named Alma Biggs.
And the girl sent you down?
That's right, with $200 running money. If you want to know about Callaway, look up a guy named Turk.
Turk what?
I don't know, Hellman. Maybe he's only got one name. Maybe the other was Stinker. You got a police file. Look him up. The girl mentioned him. That's all I know.
We'll look him up. But I'm not going to forget you. One guy's dead on Pier 19. Another up here in your apartment. You're mixed up, Novak. There's a connection. I'll shop around till I strike it.
You couldn't strike oil on a filling station. You got a double murder shop for a pair of people.
I'll shop far enough to get you, big shot. Far enough to see you fry.
Well, you got the lard for it, Hellman.
If you keep your mouth shut now, you can hold in the blood. Oh, Hellman talking. Yeah? Where'd you find out? That'd make it easier. You sure the same gun killed them both? Yeah. Yeah, I'll be in.
Well?
Huh? Oh. Wrong number, Novak.
They didn't give Hellman a sense of humor. They gave him a loud laugh instead. When he walked out of my place, he was smiling like a funny man who's just exposed Santa Claus. I didn't feel very funny myself. I took another look at those pictures, and I was as mixed up as a guy with a Mexican divorce. They were just ordinary pictures of a fire in Oakland. What made them so important? I was sure that Gunsel had taken some pictures, but, well, were they any different than those? And why was Alma Biggs afraid to pick them up? And who was a guy named Turk? I was full of questions, but no answers, like some guy at a peace conference. If I went over it any more, I'd be counting my toes. So I got out of there and looked up Jocko Madigan. Oh, he's a good guy, and he was a smart one, too, until he decided the only way you can get a good trade-in on hard luck is with a bottle of whiskey. I found him at Emilio's bar, patting Bill, the bartender, on the back with one hand and pouring jiggers of gin with the other.
At the tables down at Murray's, in the place where Louis dwells.
Jocko.
Ba, ba, ba. Gentlemen songsters off on a spree, doing from here to eternity.
Jocko, I want to talk to you.
Patsy. I'm driving a Harvard man crazy. He's at the end of the bar.
Well, stop drinking and listen to me.
I've got to keep on drinking, Patsy, if I want to preserve any continuity in my life, because I don't drink to forget, but rather to remember. To remember all the pleasant events of my life. There were 2 of them, I think.
All right, Jocko.
The first was a girl I met many twilights ago, and the second was a summer night in St. Louis when a bartender felt crazed with the heat and set him up on the house.
Will you stop it? I'm in trouble.
Memory is a blessed toy, Patsy. But you have to be careful because it can be dangerous, like giving a rifle to a small child for Christmas. It's true he can get some temporary pleasure out of it by shooting various neighbors, but sooner or later he's going to kill the only rich relative in the family.
Jocko, I'm tired.
And memory is the same way. So you're entitled to collect the few good ones you have. You're allowed to straighten them out and put them in order. After all, an old pool ball gets racked now and then.
You all through?
Yes, I've run out of memories.
Hellman thinks I killed 2 guys 10 miles apart.
Wasn't it difficult?
The same murder gun. The whole thing is tied up with some pictures.
In color?
A guy by the name of Rubin Callaway died in my boat. He gave me a key to a locker downtown. The pictures were there.
Is that one of them?
Yeah, take a look.
Oh, if it's a group picture, they were a very unruly family.
It's the Oakland fire. 2 gunsels followed me and took some of the pictures. In the meantime, some guy got shot in my place. Everybody's after the pictures. Why?
Have you seen the other pictures?
No, I took an intermission. That's why you got to help. Now, you'll find Rubin Callaway's address in the phone booth. Get up there and go through his stuff, will you?
It doesn't sound legal.
Neither's a bum murder rap. Get up there and go through his pictures. Try to find anything that'll fit in with his set.
Where are you going besides jail?
I got to find a gal named Alma Biggs.
Oh, you'll have trouble with a name like that. She's probably changed it.
The locker key was tabbed for her, but she hired me to run her errands.
Is she pretty?
Yes, if you like a fast track. Now get up there, Jocko.
Why can't I see her?
Will you stop it, Jocko? Just get up there. Forget about her. She'd scare you to death.
Yes. Well, at least I'd die hopeful. Good night, lover.
Well, finding Alma Biggs was quite a job. I knew she was around, but I couldn't get to her. It was like trying to get a peanut shell out of a back tooth. I called the Empire Club, but they didn't know anything about her. I went through all the phone books and the city directories, and I didn't get anything but a sore thumb. Well, I didn't do any better with the hotels. I sat in Lupo's and called them all one by one, and by 1 o'clock I knew more desk clerks than a vice squad cop, but no Alma Biggs. Finally, I went out to the Empire Club and started talking to the cabbies. About 15 minutes later, one pulled up and remembered taking a girl in a satin evening gown up to an apartment on the hill. I called Hellman and rode up there to check the names. Alma Biggs had an apartment on the 2nd floor. I knocked on the door and she didn't answer, so I tried it. The lights were out, so I closed the door and groped over to the desk. I should have noticed the draperies as I passed because they were full of people.
Wait a minute.
All right, now.
Wait a minute, Mr. Novak. Stop breaking things. Someday you may want to mend me.
Do you always sleep in the curtains?
Do you always talk this long in the dark? Turn on the light.
Yeah.
I wanted to see who you were.
George Leggett, maybe.
Oh? Do you know him?
We're roommates. He died on my couch tonight.
Anything serious or just humdrum death?
He's satisfied. What do you know about him?
Well, I never heard anybody say a bad thing about him. Of course, I never heard anybody mention him.
Now, look, Angel, it's late. Who's George Leggett?
Why do you care?
Because homicide cares. They got Callaway and Leggett back to back, and they want my skin.
It's a nice skin, darling. Where are the pictures?
Unless you're a social worker, you're not going to like them here.
Let me see. They're not all here.
Yeah, I figured that.
Where are the other pictures, Patsy?
In some Gonoff's album. 2 of them jumped me down near Mission Street.
Who were they?
We never got that friendly.
Well, there couldn't have been 2 of them.
Well, maybe the little guy was just window dressing, but he gave the right answers.
Patsy, I think you're a liar.
You're nicer than homicide.
I want those pictures.
You do.
And I'm going to take them away from you.
Well, if I had them, that's a big enough gun to do it.
Get the pictures, Patsy.
It's a bad time for murder, Angel. Homicide's working this week.
I haven't time, Patsy. I'll push you down like a blade of grass. Get the pictures.
Now, look, sweetheart, I took a job for $200. It covers a tandem murder rap and a sapping down on Mission Street, but it won't cover big talk from you. Now, put the gun away or I'll bend you hard.
Don't move up when you talk.
You're around behind. Come on, give it to me.
Up it, Patsy.
Feels good. Let it go or take the pain. Drop it.
You don't have to hang on. I'm not a barbell.
You're handy now. Who's Turk?
Stop it. You're hurting my arm.
There's a guy named Turk. I want to know who he is.
You're late for that.
Who is he?
Go ahead, tear it off, and you'll die ignorant.
Yeah.
You sound blue, Novak.
Oh, what do you want, Hellman?
I want to give you a reason. We got the coroner's report on George Leggett.
Yeah?
He died in your apartment. The blood off your carpet looks good on these slides.
All right, so the murderer sold me the rug. So what, Hellman?
So we ran down George Leggett's record. A Detroit gunman who got out here 6 weeks ago.
Yeah?
He traveled for years with a guy named Turk Spaniel.
Now, that's your boy. You better find him.
We already have.
Don't tell me he's up on the couch.
He was born too soon for you. We checked with the Detroit police.
What'd they say?
They know all about Turk Spaniel. He was killed 9 years ago in West Detroit. But they found the guy that did it and sent him up to Lansing for life.
Yeah?
Yeah. He was a guy named Joe Biggs. Say hello to your girlfriend.
Well, I didn't talk to the girl because I knew she'd close up faster than a Dublin meat market on Friday. I left her and went down to the Chronicle morgue to find out what I could about Turk Spaniel. Hellman had covered it. Spaniel talked too much, and Joe Biggs killed him and left him growing out of a ditch like an old weed. I didn't know where to turn now. With Turk gone, who was after those pictures besides Alma Biggs, and what did they prove? I knew the answer was there, probably in plain sight like a blimp on a football field, but I couldn't get near it. It was past 2 when I got back to my apartment, and the phone was screaming for help. Yeah.
Hello, Patsy. This is Jocko.
What'd you find out?
That Callaway was quite a photographer.
Yeah?
You should see some of the pictures. Ooh, I'm in love again.
All right, Jocko. Did you find anything?
There's a check for $1,000 from Alma Biggs.
Yeah, what else?
Some more pictures of the Oakland fire. One of them looks good.
Yeah?
It's just like the rest, except in the background something is circled with a red pencil.
That'll do it, Jocko.
And there's a clipping here with another picture. I can't tell, but I think they match.
What's it say?
Well, it's all about...
Jocko, what's the matter? Are you all right, Jocko? Jocko, you all right?
He says to tell you no.
After Jocko's call, I grabbed a cab and rode up to Callaway's apartment. When I got there, Jocko was sitting in the middle of the floor as sad as a steer on a sheep ranch. He hadn't seen who hit him, and the picture was gone, so was the clipping. I asked him if there were any negatives around. He said no. That meant that somebody was still on the prowl for those negatives. So I called Hellman and briefed him. He said he'd meet us at Rubin Callaway's studio in 10 minutes. When we got there, it was dark, but I sensed Hellman in the back room. Turned out to be a couple of pans of acid, but Hellman was there going over the negatives.
All this guy did was take pictures.
Let me take a look, will you, Hellman? Can you spot the right one here, Jocko?
Hold them up to the light.
All right. Here are the fire pictures.
How about this one?
No, I had that one.
Yeah, that's it. And this fellow back here is the one that was circled.
Hold it up so I can see.
Hello, Turk. You waited too long.
Give me the picture, mister.
All that gun will do is make noise, Spaniel. It won't make enough to keep a secret.
Just hand me the picture.
Somebody knows you're alive now. The picture's for laughs.
It's your word against mine, and I'll be so far away I can't hear the argument. Let's have it.
Don't give it to him, Novak.
Yeah, I'll give it to him. You take it away, Hellman.
Thanks, Novak. That alley taught you manners. Just stand over there. I want to remember the way you looked.
Don't worry. I'll tell you about them, Turk. Keep backing into this gun. It's going to show around your breastbone.
Guns are getting cheap. You better drop yours, Spaniel.
Over there. You look the same, Turk, or almost the same.
You got this all wrong, Alma.
Joe doesn't look the same. 9 years in the cooler and you lose your personality.
Please, Alma, don't do anything crazy.
After 9 years, you lose almost everything. Joe's lost everything but me. Down on the floor, Spaniel. I want you on your knees.
Please. Alma, you got it wrong.
I got it all right, Turk, because Joe wouldn't lie to me. When he said he didn't kill you, I knew you were alive.
Please, Alma.
Down on the floor beside the table.
Go easy, baby. You got a copper here.
I can't hurt him, Novak. Turk Spaniel's legally dead. All you can do to a dead man is kick up the dust.
Please, Alma, you're not seeing this right.
I'm going to have a better chance than you. You couldn't see, Spaniel. You couldn't see your way back to help Joe out. You look good on your knees. Over by the table.
Leave that acid alone, sweetheart.
I'm going to help him see. With a whole panful of it. I'm going to help you see, Spaniel.
Please. Please help me. You wouldn't do that?
You got the short end of the bet.
You better look at him, Jocko.
Don't bother, unless you're a baby doctor.
We may need you, lady.
Not for this copper. Remember, Turk Spaniel's dead. Detroit says so.
He looks live now.
He can't be dead there and live here. I like your climate, but it's not that good. You can't see me, Turk. So I'll bet you can hear me walk out of here. Goodbye, Turk. I'll send you a cane.
Well, Hellman managed to get most of the story out of Turk Spaniel. Rubin Callaway stumbled into the whole thing, and he didn't know what hit him. He went over to Oakland to take some pictures of the fire, and he got a picture of Spaniel in the crowd. Spaniel saw him and trailed him over to this side. He had to get the pictures because back in Detroit he'd framed Joe Biggs with a riddled-up body and skipped out of the country. He'd been away until a few weeks ago, and now he was waiting for a boat out of San Francisco, so he had to stay dead. He sent George Leggett after the pictures, but Leggett figured it was a good way to double-cross him and stay in the clear, so he tipped off Alma Biggs, who'd come out here on a lead a few weeks before. Turk finally tumbled. With a local gunsel, he killed Callaway and left Leggett in my apartment where he trailed him. It almost worked out, but he didn't get to that shop in time. Well, Hellman asked only one question. When I first met her, did I know that Alma Biggs was that hard? No. In that satin evening gown, I didn't think so.
The American Broadcasting Company has just brought you the fifth of a new series, Pat Novak For Hire, starring Jack Webb. Pat Novak is produced and directed by William P. Rousseau. Jocko Madigan is played by Tudor Owen. Inspector Hellman is played by Raymond Burr. Music was composed and conducted by Basil Ephraim. In our cast were Yvonne Fady, Charles McGraw, Herb Butterfield, and Herb Ellis. This program is being released to our servicemen and women overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Be with us again next week when over most of these same ABC stations we will bring you Pat Novak For Hire. This program came to you from Hollywood. Now, a brief reminder. There is no mystery to this statement. Wherever they serve, at home or abroad, the men who wear the uniform of the United States are men of whom we can be proud. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. All of them serve our country and us with pride and honor. It's ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
To hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to auto theft detail. A gang of criminals masquerading as legitimate auto dealers start to work in your city. Innocent people are cheated out of thousands of dollars. The thieves are clever. They work a foolproof formula. Your job? Stop them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, You will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, February 19th. It was chilly in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of auto theft. My partner's Ben Romano. The boss is Captain Nelson. My name's Friday. We were on the way out from the office, and it was 10:25 a.m. when we got to the corner of 38th Street and Maxbury Avenue. The Greenleaf Day Nursery School.
Mrs. Palmer, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Just a minute. I got it written down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, ma'am. What's the
Palmer,
Policeman, Art Lamont, Friday.
Oh, yes, going to get all about it. Is that it?
Yes, ma'am. We've been handling similar complaints the last month or so. We'd like to have you tell us everything that happened in your case, if you would, please.
One of the most underhanded things I've ever heard of, Sergeant. It would have been the same thing if he'd held me up with a gun, just out-and-out robbery.
Well, could you give us some of the details, ma'am? How you were first approached on the deal?
Excuse me a minute, please.
Children, time to go inside now. We're going to color pictures with the crayons this morning. Mrs. Johnson has them all ready for you inside. Bruce, Michael, Sandra, go along now. Inside, everyone.
Certainly wish the warm weather'd hurry up and come. Children always raise such an uproar when we have to keep them indoors. Worst part of running a day nursery, the winter months.
Yes, ma'am, I suppose so.
Now, about your automobile, Miss Palmer, we understand you had it up for sale. You advertised in one of the local newspapers, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I ran one of those 3-day want ads over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I thought I'd get more for my car if I sold it myself. I mean, instead of selling it to a used car lot.
Yes, ma'am. How many answers did you get on your want ad?
Well, just the one way it turned out. This man came out and looked at my car first thing in the morning. He offered to pay me exactly what I was asking for it, so I sold it to him. That's just the way it went.
Who was this man, Mrs. Palmer? Was he representing some auto company?
Yes, he said he was anyway. He gave his name as Joseph Newhall. I've got his card inside. Said he was a buyer for Dan Barton's used car lot on South Cap Street. Nicely dressed man. He made it all seem so honest.
How was the deal arranged? Could you tell us? I mean, transfer the car, payment, and so forth?
Well, he gave me a check for $50, sort of a down payment to hold the car for him. It was a certified company check.
I see.
He told me he'd be back that afternoon with a certified check for the full amount of the car, $800.
Did he take your car with him then?
No, he didn't. That's why I had no reason to be suspicious. He left me the check for $50 and said he'd be there with the money. Said in the meantime, one of the employees from the used car lot might be along to pick up the car to save me the trouble of driving it downtown myself.
Mm-hmm. Same MO, Joe, all the way.
Yeah, looks like it. Well, how did it go after that, Miss Palmer?
This worker from the used car lot came to the house to pick up the car about 1 o'clock that afternoon. Gave me a check for the full amount of the car, and I gave him the pink slip. Had a pair of white coveralls on, lettering on the back of them, Dan Barton's used cars. Looked like a typical mechanic or something. I wasn't the least bit suspicious.
Mm-hmm. How about the buyer, this Joseph Newhall? Did he show up later in the day?
No, he never came back. I've never seen him since. Haven't seen my car either. I called that Dan Barton's used car lot the next morning, and they told me they never heard of Joseph Newhall. Just made me sick, officer. I can't afford to lose the money I had in that car.
Yes, ma'am, we understand. The same thing's happened to a dozen people like you around the city.
Do you remember what this man Newhall looked like, Miss Palmer? His physical description, maybe the clothes he was wearing?
Yes, I've got it all written down, Sergeant, in my diary. Would you like to step inside, please? I've got my little office at the back of the school here.
All right, thank you very much.
I always make a record of everything in my diary. I've kept one ever since I was a girl in college, every day.
I suppose you've got all the information on your car, the make, license number, things like that?
Oh, yes, indeed. I got everything together I thought might help you. Right up these stairs, please.
Thank you. Go ahead. How about the description of the man in overalls, the one who came to pick up your car? Would you remember him, ma'am?
Yes, I've got that for you, too. Everything I thought would help. Just have a seat there, officers. I've got the things in my desk here.
Thank you,
right ahead. Thank you.
I wouldn't mind the whole thing so much, but as I say, I can't afford to lose the cash I had tied up in my car.
That seems to be the way the thieves operate, ma'am. They've been cheating the people who can least afford it.
Terrible thing, just out-and-out robbery. There you are, Sergeant.
Thank you, ma'am.
There's the description of my car, license number, all the rest.
Yes, I see.
And here's the description of the two men. That Joseph all the coveralls who picked up my car.
Have you got that deposit check Newhall gave him, Miss Palmer, the check for $50?
Right here, Sergeant. I saw that company about it, Dan Barton's used car lot. Forgery. Not worth the paper it's printed on.
Have a look, Joe.
Yeah, thanks.
Same as the others.
One thing I don't understand, how those crooks get these checks to begin with. Did they steal them?
No, ma'am. We figured they had them printed up. We're still trying to find out where.
Well, you know what the men look like. You'll be able to find them now, won't you?
Only wish it worked that way, ma'am. We've had good descriptions on both men for a month now. Hasn't helped too much.
I don't understand it at all. As I say, they're only common crooks. They can't be that smart, can they?
Well, there's only one way we can judge. We've been hunting every day for a month now.
Yes?
There's still... In the space of 33 days, the auto theft gang had victimized a dozen private citizens throughout the city. In each instance, the approach and the method of operation had been the same. The front man for the gang would personally answer a want ad inserted in a local newspaper by a private citizen advertising the sale of his automobile. The front man would represent himself falsely as a buyer for Dan Barton's used car lot, a well-known and legitimate used car dealer. He'd offer to pay exactly the sale price which the private party was asking. As a deposit, the so-called buyer would leave a counterfeit company check for $50 or $100 with a promise that he would return later in the day with a certified check for the full amount. After a few hours, another man, posing as an employee of Dan Barton's used, would call for the car and drive it away. Neither the car nor the so-called buyer were ever seen again. All efforts to trace them went for nothing. 11:40 a.m. Ben and I went back to the office and got out a broadcast and a supplementary APB on Mrs. Palmer's car and also on the phony car buyer who called himself Joseph Newhall. After lunch, we met with Sergeant Humphrey, one of the other four men out of auto theft detail who were working the case with us.
How'd you make out this morning, Army? That did go anywhere at all?
Wasn't bad as far as it went. We found the place where they had the printing done.
Yeah, where was that?
Small up in the valley. Printed up the phony checks with that heading on it. Dan Barton's used car lot. Got out some business cards for him, too.
What was the name? Did you find out?
Yeah, the same one, Joseph Newhall. He ordered the checks and the business cards. The printer described him for us, same guy.
Where's it go from there?
No place. The printer told us Newhall had a car. He couldn't give us a license number. Couldn't even remember the make or the body style. Thought it was a late model car, that's about all.
Well, that's not much help.
No address on him either. It was a will call order paid for in cash.
If Newhall comes back, is it?
Yeah, it's covered. I don't figure there's much chance Newhall's going to do that. He ordered enough checks printed up the first time last him a year.
Well, I guess that's one lead we can forget.
Now, how about that special run the stats office made for us yesterday? Anything come out of that?
No, nothing. All the possibles on the list were checked out, all of them clear. Nothing from Barton's used car lot either. Everybody on their staff's been checked out, all their ex-employees, too. No sign any one of them might have had a hand in it.
Yeah. Oh, either of you seen the captain since this morning?
No, why?
Well, that idea we were talking over at the last meeting, he figures we'll go ahead with it this weekend.
How's he figure on working, Army? Personal contact?
Yeah, that's right. Most of the private parties who want to sell their cars themselves use that want ad deal over the weekend. They get a special ready Saturday and Sunday.
I know.
Thursday night's the deadline for having the ads in if they're going to run the full weekend. And that's when we start working on it.
We get in touch with every private party who's filed a want ad for the weekend advertising the sale of their car, huh?
Yeah, we'll contact them by phone, every one of them. We advise them that if anybody representing themselves as a buyer for Dan Barton's used car lot answers their want ad, they're to get in touch with us right away. If they can't stall the man long enough, we tell them to accept the information on the man the car is driving.
It ought to work out. If we can get any kind of cooperation, it's going to be a big job. We'll have to cover all the want ads and all the papers.
We've got a good description of that phony buyer, Joseph Newhall. If they planted a want ad in one of the papers, maybe he's the one in the gang who brought the ad in. It's possible one of the ad takers might remember him. Might be worth checking anyway.
Well, could be. They might have phoned in the ad, too. That wouldn't help much.
Might as well it's not foolproof, but it's a different approach. It's a plan, anyway. We've tried everything else we can think of to reach the thieves.
I get it. Auto theft, Friday time. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. When was that? I see. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yes, as soon as we can. Thank you, sir. Well, maybe we won't have to wait for the weekend.
What do you mean?
Man out in Echo Park. He runs a candy store out there. He advertised his car for sale in this morning's paper. Said the first one to answer it was a buyer from Dan Barton's used car lot. Gave his name as Joseph Newhall. Looks like the same M.O.
Mm-hmm. They'll make a deal?
Well, the candy store owner wouldn't go for the deposit check. He wanted the full amount. Said the deal didn't sound right to him.
How does it stand now?
Well, Newhall said he'd come back with a check for the full sale price.
When?
8 o'clock tonight. 2:20 p.m. We drove out and questioned the candy store owner further. His description of Newhall tallied with the others, but again, the potential victim had failed to get any kind of a description of the car Newhall was driving or the license number. Ben and I staked out at the house. 8 p.m. came and went. The suspect failed to show. By midnight, there was still no sign of him. Well, the way it shaped up, Newhall apparently had a policy of making a deal at first contact or forgetting about it. He probably figured that if a person was at all suspicious, The interval would give him time to check, and Newhall wasn't giving away any odds. All day Wednesday, the stakeout went on. No sign of the suspect. On Thursday night, the local newspapers gave us lists of names and phone numbers of all private parties who had ordered want ads for the coming weekend to advertise the sale of an automobile. We divided up the names, and 6 of us took turns on the phones and started calling each party. We warned them about the car theft ring and advised them of what steps to take in the event Joseph Newhall or one of the other gang members approached them with a proposition to buy their car. One of the private parties we contacted was a Mr. Roy Harmon. Ben got on one and got in the thing we'd prepared. Sergeant Ormsby used the other extension and called another party running an ad.
Sergeant Ormsby, Los Angeles Police Department auto.
How's that, sir? Yes, and one of the gang usually goes under the name of Joseph Newhall. Contacted it all. All that. Right, thank you, sir.
What was that all about?
A man by the name of Harmon runs a cocktail lounge out on South Cole. He took in a check over the bar last night, company check from Dan Barton's used car lot. Says it was signed Joseph Newhall.
Well, he ought to remember who passed it.
He does. I got it right here. A man by the name of Frank Curtis. He's a regular customer at the bar. Harmon says this Curtis came in the place last night with a man in a dark suit, and the man seemed to be a friend of Curtis's.
Yeah.
Well, I asked him what the friend looked like, and he described him. It was Newhall.
Mm-hmm. What about that check business?
Harmon says he was standing bar at the time. Told me this Frank Curtis and Newhall had quite a few drinks together, and they ran out of money. Newhall wanted to cash a check, but Harmon said no, he didn't know him. Well, this Frank Curtis is a regular customer at the bar, and he offered to endorse the check for Newhall. So Harmon said okay, and he cashed it.
How well does Harmon know this customer is, this Curtis?
Pretty well. Lives across the street from me.
We checked Frank Curtis through R&I, but he had no previous criminal record. We left the rest of the list for the other men, and Ben and I drove out and talked to Roy Harmon, the owner of the cocktail lounge where the suspect Joseph Newhall had cashed a check with the help of his friend, Frank Curtis. Harmon told the same story he'd given Ben over the phone. Curtis was a long-time neighbor of his and a steady customer at his cocktail lounge. As for Newhall, he'd never set eyes on him until the night before. Harmon gave us the home address of Frank Curtis, and we checked it out. Mrs. Curtis answered the door and told us that her husband Frank was working the newly inaugurated night shift at an aircraft plant in the south end of the city. Ben and I drove down to the plant, and after checking with the personnel office, we finally located Curtis at his work. He was an assistant foreman in one of the aircraft assembly shops.
The truth, Sergeant Romero. The last time I saw Newhall before years ago. We used to work at a work plant together. What's the matter anyways? You done something?
We understand you endorsed a check to Newhall for $50. You know him that well? I mean, if you'd endorsed checks for him?
Well, maybe I shouldn't have. Wife's always telling me I'll be more careful who I'm signing checks for. Well, what happened anyway? Wasn't the check any good?
Do you have any idea where we could find this friend of yours, this Newhall?
Well, I don't know. During the war, he and his wife lived in this housing project off North Main. I know they moved from that place, though.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, old Joe didn't tell me where he was living. I gave him my address, told him to drop over for a beer sometime. Don't remember getting his address, though. Couldn't tell me what this is about, huh?
Just a routine check. We'd like to locate Newhall, that's all. Got a few questions we'd like to ask him.
Excuse me, we better watch it here, Sergeant.
Yeah.
Men coming through with that jig there. Okay, fellas, straight on through, all clear. Vertical fin assembly down the street. We're getting busy again, all right. Seems like the old swing shift days all over again. 4 years.
Yeah, you mentioned a minute ago that Newhall is married, Miss Curtis.
Yeah, that's right.
What about his wife? Can you tell us anything at all about her?
Betty? No, I don't think so. Her and Joe seem to get along all right. Got along pretty well, matter of fact. Nice girl, Betty. I never minded her much.
The Newhalls have any children? You know that?
No kids. Both of them work, her and Joe.
Would you know if Newhall's wife is still working?
I don't know. Probably is. But yeah, matter of fact, she is. Joe happened to mention it the other night when we were talking. Just happened to think of it.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I remember I asked about Betty, and he said she was still working. Same old place, same old job, that's all.
Where is this place she works, do you know?
Yeah, City Hall.
We continued questioning Frank Curtis, and he told us that to the best of his knowledge, the suspect's wife, Betty Newhall, had a civil service rating and that she'd worked as a file clerk in the record room of one of the bureaus in the municipal. The next morning, Ben and I got in touch with the civil service officials at the City Hall. They got out a tracer on the wife of the suspect. 11:20 a.m. I got it. Auto theft Friday. Yes, sir. How's that? I didn't hear. When? Yeah, I see. Yes, sir. Right. We'll check with you in about an hour. Bye. I don't know why we always have to do it the hard way.
Why? What was it?
The call back on Newhall's wife. Most of it checks out just the way Curtis told us.
What's the rub?
Betty Newhall quit her job a month ago. Hasn't been around, hasn't been seen since. Civil service can't even contact her.
What's the deal?
She moved. No forwarding address, not a trace of her.
Exit Ball Road off the 57 freeway. Light up the holidays with a new vehicle from Anaheim Auto Center. We'll make your holiday dreams come true at Anaheim Auto Center with our incredible savings and huge discounts. Need some extra money for the holidays? Come to Anaheim Auto Center today and save thousands. We have a great selection of new vehicles and unbeatable service. Light up your holiday season today at Anaheim Auto Center. We want you to be completely satisfied. The holidays are the perfect time to buy a new vehicle. Why go anywhere else? We have it all at one convenient location near the Anaheim Pond. So light up your holiday season with a great new car or truck from Anaheim Auto Center.
Anaheim Auto Center, we're on the ball.
Exit Ball Road off the 57 freeway.
KNX 1070 News Radio.
Saturday, February 23rd. The strongest lead we'd had to the auto theft gang began to fade. Mrs. Betty Newhall, the wife of our principal suspect, wasn't to be found. We checked out all her known friends and relatives, the places she was known to frequent. There wasn't a trace of her. Then got all the available information on her from the Civil Service Office, and we got out a broadcast in the supplementary All Points Bulletin. We found out she had a 10-year-old son, so we checked with the Board of Education to see if the boy was registered in one of the city schools. He wasn't listed. Still no response. We stayed on it. In the meantime, the weekend was wearing past the halfway point. The other two teams of men working the case were standing by, but apparently none of the private parties who were running want ads over the weekend advertising the sale of an automobile had been approached yet by either Joseph Newhall or some other member of the gang. If they did make a contact, it hadn't been reported to us. Saturday night, still no response. 8:50 p.m. Ben and I had some supper at Johnny Coken's place, and then we went back to the office.
Not a bad meal at all, huh?
Pretty fair for a Saturday night. Good soup.
Yeah, there's nothing like that corn chowder Johnny puts out. It's the best.
I sure wish you'd do something about that coffee. It's like taking a shot of adrenaline, isn't it?
It is pretty strong and... excuse me. Maybe that's what's giving me this heartburn.
Where's Ormsby? I thought he was covering.
So did I. He was here when I left.
Joe, Ben?
Hi, Army. Thought we lost you.
I'm taking a call from Hollywood Division. Good piece of news.
What's that?
Newhall's wife, they found her.
At approximately 25 minutes past 8 that night, a dark-haired woman in her late 30s had brought a young boy into a pharmacy in the Hollywood area. Apparently, the woman had been drinking, but she was not intoxicated. The young boy with her, whom she identified as her 10-year-old son, was badly cut and bruised about the face and head. The woman insisted that the pharmacist on duty treat the boy and attend to his injuries. After arguing with the woman, the pharmacist called the Hollywood Receiving Hospital. An ambulance was dispatched, and the boy and his mother there for treatment. At Hollywood Receiving, the woman gave her name as Betty Harrison, and her son's name is George Harrison. But a routine identification check by officers next door at the Hollywood Division Station disclosed her true name as Mrs. Betty Newhall. The desk sergeant ordered her held for interrogation and notified our office immediately. 9:30 p.m. Ben and I arrived at the Hollywood Division.
Her boy, George, Mrs. Newhall, how did he happen to get beat up like that? It's pretty bad for a little fellow.
I warned Joe about hitting little George. I told him if he did it again, I'd walk out. Well, I did walk out. I don't care what happens to him.
You mean the boy's father did that to him, beat him up like that?
He's not George's father. Second marriage. My name used to be Donnelly. I had 2 kids. One died.
Uh-huh.
When the divorce came through, I got custody of George, and I married Joe Newhall.
You know why we're looking for your husband, Ms. Newhall?
Yeah, I think so.
Why do you think so?
Car business. I knew what he was doing.
Do you have any idea at all where we can find your husband?
I'm not sure. He might be a lot of places. Just can't get over what he did to George. No reason at all. Kid came home and asked if he could go to the show. Husband got up and slapped him. Been drinking quite a bit. He hit the kid with his closed fist, kept hitting. A grown man slugging a 10-year-old kid like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about any man where George is concerned. Nobody's going to treat a kid of mine like that.
You said you knew about your husband's dealing in the car business, Mrs. Newhall. How much do you know about it?
I didn't have any part of it, I can tell you that much. It was his idea from the beginning, my husband's. got the men together to work the racket. He made all the plans. He gave all the orders.
How is it you quit your job at the city hall in such a hurry?
My husband's idea, I guess. He thought if anything happened, he didn't want to be traced that easy. Then he had to go and get drunk that night, cash the check. He always did stupid things like that.
Mm-hmm. How about the gang your husband has working with him, Ms. Newhall? Can you tell us anything about them?
Yes, I can. Three fellows working with him I know of. Deadman and Curly Reese and Jack Whitmore. Maybe there's someone else besides them, but I don't know of.
You know where these men live, ma'am? Where we can find them?
I think I do, yeah. I got the addresses at home. At this time, they're probably on there.
You know the places they were supposed to be staying.
Yeah, I got the addresses at home.
How about the cars they got on this deal they were working? What are they doing with them? Do you know that?
I don't know for sure. They were moving them east, I think, selling them back there.
Yes, ma'am.
I do always get the deep marriage, the jealousy, the Deeford.
No.
Even they didn't like kids. They didn't want to have a home. Why'd they have to be that way?
Well, I'd like to ask you something, if I could.
Yeah.
Why'd you marry him? 10:43 p.m. We stopped at the Newhall apartment on the way back to the city hall, called the office, and arranged for a stakeout. The wife of the suspect, Betty Newhall, gave us the names and addresses of the people she knew to be working with her husband, Joseph Newhall, in the auto theft gang. She had no information to offer on the cars they might be driving. When we got to the office, we took a complete statement from Mrs. Newhall, and then she was booked in at the main jail on suspicion of grand theft auto. 11:09 p.m. Together with Wilson and Ormsby, we started checking out the addresses of the gang members. Our first two stops, we got nothing. On our last two, we did a little better. We picked up a Jack Whitmore, Curly Reese, and a Carl Stedman, three of the names which Mrs. Newhall had mentioned. We took them downtown and booked them in at the main jail. That still left the principal suspect, Joseph Newhall, unaccounted for. At 1:45 a.m. the next morning, we got a tip as to his whereabouts, the small hotel on East 1st Street. We checked it out. The man answering Newhall's description was registered in room 209 on the second floor. We got a pass key from the room clerk on duty and started up the stairs.
209. Down this way, Joe.
Mm-hmm. Here's a 7. Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can get a rise. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, we're...
Yeah, police officers. All right, hold it there, Mr. Down, Ben.
Yeah.
Hey, what is this? What's this all about?
You generally sleep with your clothes on, Newhall?
Look, I don't know what you're talking about. What is this, a shakedown?
He's clean, Joe. I'll check his bag.
Hey, now, stay out of those things. You haven't got any right breaking in here like this, going through my property.
Let's relax, Newhall. This won't take long.
2 full pads of them, Joe. Find them in his suitcases. Company check. Dan Barton's used car lot.
We talked to your friends, mister. We got one side of the story. You want to come downtown and give us yours?
You get nothing from me. Not unless I see my lawyer. You can't hold me on any charges.
Grand theft auto in Newhall. We've got the witnesses. We've got the evidence. If you've got something to say, say it. If you haven't, we'll get along downtown.
You haven't got anything on me. You haven't got enough to hold me an hour.
We're going to give it a try. For a full 5 hours, we questioned Newhall, both at the hotel and later downtown in the interrogation room. And after 5 hours of questioning, he finally broke and admitted being the mastermind behind the auto theft racket.
Your true name is Joseph Willard Newhall, is that right?
Yeah, that's it. Now, you can't blame the whole setup on me, though. My wife had a hand in it just as much as I did.
Well, we've already got her statement. You want to give us yours?
Yeah, she's just as much to blame as I am. We didn't hurt anybody anyway. It's just a con deal, that's all. We didn't hurt anybody.
How do you figure that?
Well, just a simple con deal. People advertising their cars for sale are trying to cheat out a few bucks for themselves. We just outfigured them, that's all.
You ready to dictate a statement for us?
You know, we outfigured you two. You'd never have reached us if it wasn't for my wife.
We'd reach you.
Not in 30 years you wouldn't. Where'd you go in circles? Just one hitch. My wife and that stupid kid of hers. Just because I slapped him around a little, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that.
Well, you better learn a lesson, mister.
What?
Next time you fight, don't pick a 10-year-old.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On May 29th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 87, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. A check of his fingerprints revealed that Joseph Newhall's true name was Joseph Orrin Henderson, and that he had a previous record of forgery and burglary in the state of South Carolina. Henderson, alias Newhall, was tried and convicted, along with his associates in the auto theft gang, on 8 counts of grand theft and forgery of a fictitious check. They received sentences as prescribed by law. Grand theft is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 1 or more than 10 years. Forgery of a fictitious check is punishable by imprisonment in the county jail for not more than 1 year or in the state penitentiary for not more than 14 years. The wife, Betty Newhall, was convicted as an accomplice and was sentenced to serve 1 year in the county jail.
Ladies and gentlemen, our security and the peace of the world are in danger while hundreds of millions behind the Iron Curtain are victims of vicious lies about the United States and other free nations. Join the crusade for freedom through your local crusade committee or by writing to General Clay, Empire State Building, New York City. Make a contribution to its work. Help truth fight communism. Join the crusade for freedom.
You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles.
Sunday at 8:30, and CBS brings you Jeff Regan, Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery and suspense and adventure in tonight's transcribed story, A Fire for Romano.
It started with a little man with deep wrinkles in his forehead and troubles on his mind. Then there was a kid traveling fast in a hot rod. And then there were 2 women. One who didn't deserve to die, but did. And another one who did deserve to die, but didn't. It was a sunny, healthy Chamber of Commerce Tuesday that I wandered into my boss, the Lyon's office. Got a surprise. No Anthony J. Lyon. Then I remembered he was on vacation. Yeah. It's made it look like an even sunnier, healthier Tuesday. Let's see, the beach or the track or... That was before the door opened right behind me, and the aforementioned little man with wrinkles walked in.
Mr. Regan?
Huh?
You are Mr. Regan, the detective?
Yeah.
Please, Mr. Regan, I need your help. Could you help me?
I'm afraid I didn't get your name.
I am Romano. Elio Romano.
Well, sit down, Mr. Romano.
Thank you. What do you say, Mr. Regan?
Very nice fit. What? What's that? Oh, just the chair. Fits pretty good.
The chair fits?
Yeah, my boss is on vacation. I'm just trying out his chair.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Yeah. Suppose you tell me about your problem. You're needing help, Mr. Romano.
Oh, yes, Mr. Regan, it's true. I do need help. My store, it's my store.
Store.
I have a smaller grocery store. It's on the 6th Street. It's my own little store, and I'm very
Romano,
proud.
What about the store?
Oh, such a nice little place where people may buy food. We got everything, my Maria and I. We are the proprietors of this store. We also own it.
Fine. Now, what about...
It's called the Romanos. We have a big new neon sign. My someone is trying to destroy my store.
We're making headway. Tell me about the someone.
I don't know this someone. If I should get my hands on them...
Somebody breaks windows?
No. They tried to burn it down. They tried to burn my store.
When?
Last week, Thursday.
Did you call the police?
Yes.
And then what?
Well, they said there was accident. They said I did this to my own store. Ma questa è una cosa che... Oh, mamma mia.
And you're sure it was no accident?
Mr. Regan, would I destroy the one thing Maria and I have given our lives to make? Would I so much as harm a single little glass window? No, I would not.
Where'd the fire start?
In the back room where the cans are stored.
What time of day?
Night. It was at night. My Maria and I, we sleep above the store. My Maria smelled the smoke, and together we put out the fire before the damage could become great.
Mm-hmm. That's the only time it happened?
No. The day before that, I found a light match in the waste basket. It was just as I was closing for the night. Well, I stopped this one very quick.
2 nights in a row. You're right, Romano. It doesn't look very accidental.
Oh, believe me, Mr. Regan, I would never do this to my store. Never.
Okay, Romano. I believe you. Suppose you and I run out there. Take a look. The little man with the wrinkled brow got in the car beside me, and we drove out 6th Street, past Alvarado, past Union. We parked in front of a small grocery store with a big neon sign over the door. Sign said very proudly, Romano's. And my client, Romano, glanced at it, nodded approvingly, and we walked in.
Oh, Elio, you're back safely.
That foolish woman. Of course I'm back safely.
And this is Mr. Regan, the detective.
See. Mr. Regan, my wife, Maria. You're a very foolish woman.
Elio, twice said too much.
How do you do, Miss Romano?
What a pig of a husband. If you worry about him and he says so, he call you foolish. If you do not worry about him, he say you don't care.
Maria, Mr. Regan is going to help us. He promised he will help us.
You told him everything, Elio.
Maria, please.
Everything, Elio. You promised me you would tell Mr. Regan everything.
See.
Well?
Suppose you tell me, Mrs. Romano.
See, Maria. Suppose you tell me.
Elio. Mr. Regan, in the first place, you must know that we do not have much money.
See, very little, Mr. Regan.
In the second place, you must know we do not have many friends.
See, very few.
Now, we'll work out the money later, Miss Romano. Tell me about the friends now.
Maria, tell me.
We believe certain things, Mr. Regan. We run our business our own way, and no one can tell us otherwise. We believe in being our own boss.
Mm-hmm. That's why you have very few friends?
See, that is why.
Mr. Regan, please, come with me. Right away, I'll show you where the fires start. Please, come with me.
Romano led me into a small back room behind the counter. There were shelves filled with canned goods and paper cartons. He showed me the waste paper basket near the door. Easy to toss a match in through the window above it that opened onto the alley. There were a few charred pieces of wood here and there, but very little damage had been done. Still, if everything Romano said were true, it didn't look like an accident. It was while he was pointing out the burnt wood that a customer came in the front door. I moved over toward the doorway and listened.
Well, we'll see about that when I tell my neighbors.
It was then that things began to get interesting. I looked out. Plump, smug-looking woman, carrying a heavy purse, her eyes glaring behind rimless glasses.
That's your idea, eh? To force as many people in here as you can? Well, there certainly must be some law against people like you.
Please, Mrs. Wilson.
I just wanted to make sure, that's all. And I must say I got what I came for.
What was that all about, Mrs. Romano?
Oh, Mr. Regan, you heard.
Maria, what has she said to
Quiet,
you?
Romano.
Mr. Regan is right, Elio. It was enough.
It didn't sound like nothing, Mrs. Romano. What'd she mean by tell my neighbors?
No, we will not talk of it.
See, we will talk of it. Mr. Regan, this woman, this is Mrs. Wilson. She used to be our best customer. Then she turned on us. She tells all her friends not to come to our store.
Why?
Why? Because who knows why?
Oh, you have started it. Now you will finish, Elio. She does not buy from us because we would not let her tell us how to run our store.
See.
That's all there is to it?
See.
When did this start?
A week ago.
Oh. Same time the fire started.
See, the same... But, Mr. Regan, you don't
You
think
hired
that...
me to think, Romano. I'll see you later.
Mr. Regan, where you going?
To talk to Mrs. Wilson. If I moved fast, I could find Mrs. Wilson. If I could find her, I could talk to her. She had answers, plenty of them. Plenty more than the Romanos gave her credit for. And then I saw her, a block away, walking fast. I followed. Around the corner, she turned up the walk and disappeared into a 2-story apartment house. I was right behind her. The mailbox out front said 208, and when I got there, the door was just closing. A knock.
Yes?
Could I talk to you for a minute?
Young man, if you're selling
I'm not
something...
selling anything.
Then what do you want?
Just a couple of questions, Mrs. Wilson, about the Romanos.
Oh, so that's your game, is it? You're trying
I'm not
to tell
trying
me...
to tell you anything. We'd just better talk now, for your own good.
You go back and tell those people we don't want them around here. We don't want them in our neighborhood. Is that clear?
That's as good a place to start as any. Now we'll just...
Oh, no, you don't. You're not coming in without a warrant. I knew you were a policeman right away. They called you, those Romanos. Just like them to take advantage of our Constitution. But I know my rights as a citizen.
Lady, I'm
I
trying to
haven't
tell
broken any laws, you understand? It's them that cause all the trouble, them. And we don't want their kind around here. Now, good day.
So I had nothing after all. I got in my car, drove down toward police headquarters. And it wasn't that easy. Because behind me, starting at Alvarado, was a yellow Model A Ford. A yellow hot rod, and it wasn't behind me by accident. It stayed there 2 blocks, 10 blocks, 20. And whoever sat behind the wheel didn't care if I knew it. He stayed that way until we reached a block without traffic, and then suddenly the yellow car gunned up in the rearview mirror. And I could see a young kid hunched angrily over the steering wheel, and there wasn't any doubt about what a kid like that had on his mind or what he was going to do. He moved the car up close, next to mine, and yelled something angry kids yell, and suddenly his yellow coupe shot out ahead and cut into me. Like I figured. He tried to run me off the street onto the sidewalk. And now the yellow coupe was just a blur in the distance. I pulled off from the curb, eased into gear, and took my time driving to the police station. The police told me to check with the arson squad. The arson squad told me to check with the sergeant. And to make a rotten day just that much rottener, the sergeant turned out to be a guy I knew, named Bowles.
All right, what do you want, Regan?
Transferred from homicide, Bowles?
I don't need any of your lip today, Regan. I'm busy. What do you want?
You handle the Romano investigation?
Romano? Who's that?
Just the poor guy who happens to own a grocery store.
Romano. Yeah, I checked it out last week.
Find anything?
Sure. Scared little guy ought to watch where he tosses his matches.
That's all you could find.
When I want your advice, I'll ask for it.
Give, Bowles. I'm busy today myself.
Times must be tough, huh, Regan? You're taking a fee from a
Answer me, Bowles.
Okay. The guy had a fire. Know what caused it? Matches. Know the total damage? $10. Now, Regan, if you think we got enough men to stake out a 2 big...
Ever hear of putting out a fire before it starts, Bowles? You wouldn't have heard that.
I told you we haven't got enough men, Regan. Sure, we'd like to prevent it. Okay. But you need men, Regan. We haven't got them.
Okay, Bowles. What have you got?
There's no evidence of outside work.
Meaning what?
No evidence that anybody else started it, Regan.
Spell it out, Bowles.
Sure, I'll spell it out. Maybe somebody did start the fire on purpose. You know who gained by that, Regan? No, don't guess. Let me tell you. A character named Romano.
Bowles, if you think...
I didn't set it up, Regan. Somebody else did. For your information, this client of yours, Romano, has his grocery store well covered. You know what they call it, Regan? Fire insurance. Lots of fire insurance.
And that's what I got from Sergeant Bowles. I left the station, drove down to a chop house on 3rd Street, had myself a big dinner, and tried to think. Only it wasn't that easy. Ideas would fit together during the salad and go to pieces during the steak. By the time I got to dessert, it was anybody's guess. I paid the blonde waitress and drove out 6th Street, watching the street lights go on and hoping one of them would shed some light on the problem. And when I got past Alvarado, I didn't have time to think. I stepped on the gas, drove faster, into streets becoming crowded, alive, into confusion and fire engines, into shouts and smoke. A man in a fire helmet directed me over to the side of the road, and I parked and got out and walked into the excitement and confusion and heat. and into a sweaty, curious, open-collared, open-mouthed, hot-eyed, staring mob. And there were shouts all around me. Hey, Joe. Hey, Edna. Hey, Pete. Come take a look. Romano's, the grocery store, burning down.
This is CBS, and you are listening to tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator, entitled A Fire for Romano.
A little man named Romano had hired me to find out who tried to burn down his grocery store, and I'd met an irate customer, an overworked cop, and a kid in a hot rod. Now I was back on 6th Street, back at Romano's little store. And there was a mob of excitement-hungry people yelling and cheering and shouting while flames licked up the store walls and around the big new neon sign Romano had proudly shown me. And I was moving into the mob, trying to get closer, when a big burly man covered with soot and sweat shoved me aside.
Hey, stand back, will you please, mister?
Have you seen the owner?
Too many people to see anything, mister. Out of my way.
The big fireman moved on, and I followed him, letting him clear a path through the spectators, and up ahead I could see another big man. This one I knew.
Stand back there. Oh, Regan.
Rand, have you seen Romano, the owner?
What's he look like?
A little guy. Dark hair, mustache.
Dark soul, Regan. I haven't seen anybody. Better...
Fire Chief Rand's shouts were lost in the crowd behind me as I moved and shoved and pushed my way around to the side of the burning grocery store. Somewhere in there was my client, Romano, and his wife, Maria. And then, stumbling out through the smoke, came a fireman. And he was dragging a man, a little man, coughing, spitting, screaming. It was Romano.
Easy. This is the man you were looking for, mister.
Maria, let me go, please. Let me go.
Romano, it's me, Regan.
Let me go in the name of God. Please let me go, Maria. I must get to my Maria.
You take him, mister. I'll go back for her.
Right, I got him.
Regan. Mr. Regan, where is she? They left for my Maria.
Take it easy, Romano. They'll get Maria.
They must have saved her. I'm going to get to Maria. I'm going to get...
I pulled the little man away from the smoke and heat and people and stretched him out on the pavement. In a few minutes, his breathing became regular and the coughing stopped, and he slept. And 10 minutes after that, the big fireman came out with Maria and placed her on the pavement beside her husband. Only Maria wasn't coughing or breathing. She was dead. The ambulance took Maria and Romano away. The fire hissed steam where the firemen's hoses poured gallons of water. And soon even the crowd had lost interest. And only the hissing steam and smoke filled the cavity that had been Romano's grocery store. Fire Chief Rand came over to me.
Did you find him, Regan, that man you were looking for?
Yeah, Rand. I found him.
He okay?
Yeah, he'll be all right. Not his wife.
Oh, sorry to hear that, Regan. We did the best we could.
I know. Rand, what started it?
I was just checking. So far, nothing conclusive.
You think it was an accident?
No. Went too fast. This one was planned, Regan.
Pyromaniac.
I'm not too sure. The nuts usually stick around. Watch it. They get their kicks that way.
Check the crowds?
We always check the crowd. Nothing certain yet.
Okay, Rand. Thanks.
Regan, when you see Romano, tell him we did our best.
I left Rand examining the charred scraps of what was left of Romano's grocery store. I walked down the street, thinking, putting the twos with other twos and trying to make fours. And then I saw something up ahead, and I forgot about the twos and fours and moved faster. It was a yellow Model A Ford parked 3 blocks from the scene of the fire, sitting quiet, docile, far from the nearest streetlight. I got to it, started to look in. It was the car that had tried to run me off the street. It was...
Get away from there, mister.
I turned. Saw a kid. The kid who'd driven the car into me. In his right hand, a revolver.
Come on, get away from it.
You like guns.
Hey, get me things. Come on.
You also like matches.
Shut up.
You also like killing people. Right! He blinked when I said killing, and I dove across the sidewalk at his knees, and we went down together, rolling on the pavement and digging for the gun. And it was anybody's weapon until I felt the cold steel of it pressing between us. Saw the barrel moving up under my chin. Heard the report. Kid was gone. I was holding a sticky, damp spot above my left ear, and when I pulled my hand away, it too was sticky and damp. I got up, rocked unsteadily on my feet, stumbled down to my car. I reached for the ignition, pushed the starter, and decided to wait. Voices and faces, and voices and lights, and a big blank wall to stare at. I waited, not being sure, and then I opened my eyes, and the blank wall was the ceiling, and the face was Sergeant Bowles. Who said it was just a scratch?
Lay down.
What's going on around here?
Said lay down. You want to hurt something or something?
Bowles, your humor stinks. Where are we?
Georgia Street receiving.
Huh?
Only why Rand had bothered.
Rand brought me here.
He found you in your car. You were out. Way out.
Romano. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's okay.
His wife, Maria. Does Romano know?
Yeah, he knows.
Bowles.
Yeah?
You still figure Romano burned his own store down?
Shut up.
Like you said, Bowles, who would gain but Romano? Who, Bowles, who?
Okay, so I was wrong, okay. We did our best.
After the crime. What did you do before it happened, Bowles?
Slow down, Regan. You're racing your motor. Besides, suppose you answer a couple of questions.
Okay. Just ask me. Bowles asked me, and I told him. And he folded his notebook and he walked out. I got up, checked my legs and the bandage over my left ear, glanced down the hospital corridor, and walked out. 30 minutes later, the cab let me off where I'd last seen that yellow coupe, and I began to check garages. And the first one I checked was behind the apartment building where Mrs. Wilson lived. And I got nothing. 30 minutes after that, I'd covered her side of the block and was on the last apartment across the street. 4 garages, side by side. First Chevy, second Dodge, third Ford. Not a new one. It was a coupe like the yellow one I was looking for, only this was black. Shiny black. Shiny black. That was worth something. I moved into the dark garage and looked closer at that Model A and reached out and touched the shininess and brought my finger back fast. Sticky. Wet. Newly painted.
What are you doing back here?
Short, fat, with a flashlight beam in my eyes.
Come on, speak up. What's your business?
Turn off your light.
Not a chance, mister. I'm on
I
you.
said turn it off.
Hey!
Whose car is this?
None of your business.
I said whose car?
This is my property, mister. You...
Talk!
It ain't my place to give out information on my tenant.
Oh, the owner lives in your apartment?
Well, I...
Does he?
Well, I rent that garage, mister. $5 a month.
But the guy who owns the car doesn't live here?
It ain't no guy, mister. Woman pays the bill.
A woman? A plump woman, wears rimless glasses.
Yeah.
Her name's Wilson, Mrs. Wilson.
Hey, that's...
Thanks.
Hey, you ain't got no right to ask me questions.
I moved around the building, across the street, double time up the stairs, up to the place I'd been earlier in the afternoon. It was late now, very late. But whether she liked it or not, Mrs. Wilson was getting a caller. I leaned on the buzzer, stayed on it. And midnight or not, Mrs. Wilson was going to answer if it took me home.
What's the meaning of this? The very idea... Oh, it's you. Well, see here.
I'm coming in, Mrs. Wilson.
I won't have this, you. I'm calling the manager. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm coming in, Mrs. Wilson.
You policemen have no right to disturb peace-loving citizens.
I'm not the police, Mrs. Wilson.
You're not the police? Well, Investigator.
Not this time.
Get out of my house, do you hear? Get out of
Shut
my...
up.
And what do you want?
Your son. If he is your son.
You're playing crazy. My son is out of town.
Really?
He's been gone since yesterday. He's visiting his aunt.
That right.
He left on the train for Santa Barbara. That's where my sister lives. Tommy left yesterday morning.
Tell me about Tommy.
He's a good boy. There's nothing he's done wrong. What right have you got?
What right have you got covering up a murder?
Murder?
Sure, murder, Mrs. Wilson. When your kid set fire to Romano's store, somebody was killed. The law can call that manslaughter, Mrs. Wilson, but you and I know it's murder.
You're lying. You're making
Why,
me...
Mrs. Wilson? That's all I want to know. Why? Why did you knowingly let your kid set fire to that store? What kind of a distorted brain...
You shut up! What those people got, they deserved. We don't want their kind in this neighborhood. We've got our rights.
Who's we?
Citizens. Real American citizens.
Oh, Romano's not, is that it?
There's no place here
I think I'll just look around, Mrs. Wilson.
Where are you going?
Look around. Something brought this business to a boil.
You stay out of there!
Ah, I wasn't going in. But since you made a point of it. Kitchen.
You get out of here.
Now, why would you care if I looked in your kitchen, Mrs. Wilson? Interesting. Very interesting.
You've got no right to come in
Coffee,
here and...
sugar, soap. Lots of it. Let's see. Say about 24 cans of coffee. A couple of cases of soap. And there's a sugar there.
I paid for it. It's my right to buy what I want. Romano can't tell me
so
what
that's
I'm
it.
supposed...
Romano tried to tell you how much you could buy.
No dirty, filthy foreigner is going to tell me what I
That's
can...
right. You're an American. A real patriotic American.
Right.
The Constitution says you've got a right to buy as much as you want any time you want. You've got your rights. Remember you telling me that.
So I'll thank you to keep your nose
Your
out of
kind
my
belongs
business.
behind bars, Mrs. Wilson.
What?
Your kind can't eat off the same table with Romanos. Your kind belongs out back in a pig pen, where you can wallow in your soap and coffee and sugar and greed.
How dare you?
Get back with the pigs, Mrs. Wilson. Somebody left a loophole in the Constitution.
Why?
Stand right where you are, mister.
Well, that makes it complete.
Oh, Tommy. Oh, my Tommy.
I thought I stopped you once, mister.
Oh, he said such horrible things, Tommy. He said such terrible
I won't be
things.
saying much when I get through with him.
When you get through with what?
Oh.
Haven't you killed enough for one night?
Killed?
Mrs. Romano's dead. Dead from the smoke and flames and hate your mother cooked up.
Oh, no. I wasn't going to kill her.
Sure, just a little fire. Burn them out of the neighborhood. It's your mother's idea.
Tommy, don't let him talk to me that
Sure,
way.
they always start that way. Just a little hate. But it builds, doesn't it, kid? Starts with a fist, ends up with guns, lots of them.
But Tommy...
I didn't mean...
Go on, shoot, kid. Make the neighborhood safe for Americans. Your mother's kind of Americans. The kind that breeds hate and greed and gets fat doing it.
Tommy, make him stop.
Shoot, kid. Go ahead, prove she's right. That you can kill because you're special like she is.
Tommy!
Give me that gun.
The gun.
Gun. Thanks. There must be something in the Constitution that fits you, Mrs. Wilson. And there was. Murder, arson, whatever you want to call the crimes of Mrs. Wilson. You might say she was fighting for a fifth freedom. The freedom of grab. And she won. The right to spend the next few years grabbing the bars of her own private cell. The next morning, I checked in down at the office of my boss, Anthony J. Lamb. Empty. Anthony J. on vacation. Way up in the mountains, breathing fresh air, living the hard, rugged life. Fishing, hunting, getting next to nature. And doing good. Thought about that as I sat down in his big swivel chair. Anthony J. Lamb, Detective Bureau. Regan speaking.
I have a long-distance call for a Mr. Jeffrey Regan from Mr. Lyon in Mammoth Lakes, California.
Okay, I'm Regan.
The call is collect. Will you accept the charges?
What else? Okay, operator.
Jeffrey! Is that you, Jeffrey?
Al, Lyon, how's the fishing?
What's that? Oh, terrible connection. I can't hear a thing.
I said, how's the fishing?
Fishing? Oh, yes. Fine. Wonderful. Spend every minute out on the lake. Open air. Exercise. Just a minute, Jeffrey. Certainly I'm in for $5. Deal, Charlie. Yes, really roughing it, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yes, generally fine weather. Just what I needed. All this outdoor exercise. Pardon me, Jeffrey. These fishermen keep asking advice. I've got aces over queens. Sorry, gentlemen. My part again. That's why I called you, Jeffrey.
Fish biting that good, huh?
Biting? I've never seen so many suckers, fish in my life. You practically have to fight them off. Jeffrey, this exercise is doing me so much good.
Yeah, Lion.
Do you mind if I stay another week?
Jeff Regan, Investigator, is written tonight by William Frug, produced and directed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Frank Graham as Regan with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant. Jeff Regan, Investigator, is heard transcribed each week at the same time over CBS. Bob Stevenson speaking, and inviting you to be with us again next Sunday at 8:30 for more suspense and mystery and adventure with Jeff Regan, Investigator. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. A wave of shoplifting breaks out in your city. There's no pattern to the thief's operations. There are no leads. Weeks pass. The number of thefts keep growing. Your job? Stop them.
In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Confirmed by smokers coast to coast.
In Fatima, the difference is quality.
Confirmed by latest Fatima sales reports. Yes, Fatima quality. The finest domestic and Turkish tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild. To give you a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
So compare Fatima. See for yourself why thousands and thousands of king-size cigarette smokers are switching to Fatima every day.
Enjoy all the advantages of extra length plus Fatima quality, which no other king-size cigarette has.
Remember, Fatimas cost the same as the cigarette you're now smoking.
But in Fatima, the difference is quality.
Next time, buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes. Dragnet,
the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, August 22nd. It was hot in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Ben Romano. The boss is Captain Wisdom. My name's Friday. It was 2:18 p.m. when we got to Anthony's Store for Women, the general manager's office.
Mr. Addy? Come right in.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Romano, sir. I'll talk to you on the phone. This is my partner, Sergeant Friday.
How do you do? Elliot, how are you?
Certainly glad to see him. Let me get another chair here.
Thank you very much.
I haven't had time for my after-lunch cigarette yet. Care to join me?
No, thank you, sir. I got a light for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess you know what the problem is. No need for me to go all the way back and start from the beginning.
I didn't get it quite clear on the phone, Mr. Elliott. When did this last thing come in?
Well, the way we have figured out, it must have happened around closing time yesterday, between 5:30, we figured.
The store was pretty crowded at that time, was it?
Yeah, it's pretty busy. They had a special pre-winter showing in the fur department. No one noticed it was gone until after we'd closed up.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a description of the piece of merchandise, Mr. Elliott?
Yes, yeah. You got it right there. Complete description, you see. Silver blooming stole, satin lining, 2-slash pocket, silver chain fastener. Complete description of it for you.
Yes, I see. Thank you. These are the code numbers and the serial numbers on it, then?
That's right. The whole thing's getting way out of hand, Sergeant. We had a lot of things lifted from the store the last few weeks, but nothing this big. If this keeps up, I don't see how we're going to get our insurance renewed.
I guess your store detectives are working on this latest one, the missing fur?
Yes, but it's the same as all the recent cases we've had. They haven't been able to find a thing. All the personnel have been checked, all the people who were around the department when the fur was stolen. I mean, those it was possible to check on. As far as we know, they're all clear.
Uh-huh. What were the circumstances of this thing, Mr. Elliott? I mean, was this mink stole on a display rack? Did one of the models have it on? Exactly how was it?
No, it was modeled, yes. After it was shown to several parties, it was put back in stock. We have a special rack for the stoles, regular enclosed cabinet, sliding doors on it. Cabinets usually open during store hours.
I see.
There was a store detective in the department at the time. All those salespeople were standing around. I can't understand why one of them didn't see it happen.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Elliott, you say this is the first time an expensive item like this has been lifted from the store?
That's right.
Now, about the personnel, Mr. Elliott, you say there's been a check made on each one of them since this thing started?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And there's no reason to be suspicious at all of any one of your people?
Well, as a matter of fact, there is one, Sergeant. Sales girl. She was up in 5 in the Suite 16 shop. Then she was moved down to cosmetics on the street floor.
What is it that makes you suspicious for her?
Well, before I say anything, I want to make it perfectly clear to you. We've never had any real proof that there was something wrong there. Dorothy started with us 8 years ago. That's the girl's name, Dorothy Kirkman.
Mm-hmm.
She came to us right out of high school. She seemed to be doing all right, got along with the customers, dressed neatly, always on time. And all of a sudden, this shoplifting started. We didn't think there was any connection at first. Thought it was only coincidence.
How do you mean?
Well, just recently, wait a minute. Get the file on that right here on the desk. I see. Yeah. Here it is. Out of the first 14 items that disappeared, 6 of them were out of Dorothy Kirkman's department, right out of her section. Cashmere sweaters, expensive blouses, scarves. As I say, at first we wrote it off to coincidence, but it kept recurring. Her section almost seemed to be the focal point of all the shoplifting. That was at the beginning, of course.
Did you have the Kirkman girl watched, Mr. Elliott?
Yes, we did. The department head kept an eye on her. Well, I guess Dorothy noticed it. She resented it quite a bit. Had a little spat with the head of the department. We thought it'd be best for everyone if she transferred. So we had her move downstairs to cosmetics.
Mm-hmm. How did that arrangement work out?
Well, for the first few weeks, fine. And we started missing things out of cosmetics. A lot of it didn't amount to too much. A lot of it did. Makeup kits, expensive perfumes. This time we called her in, tried to talk to her about it in a nice way. She got very resentful.
Mm-hmm. She denied knowing anything about it, say?
Yeah, she got very upset. Of course, there is one thing I will say. The items in cosmetics are on display all over the counter. It's fairly easy for anybody to pick them up. The fact still remains the stealing began in her department upstairs. She moves over to cosmetics, and all of a sudden the losses increase there. What would you figure?
Yes, I see what you mean.
Wonder if you could have somebody point out this Dorothy Kirkman for us, Mr. Elliott. I think maybe we better have a talk with her.
You'd like to help you, Sergeant. I'm afraid that's not possible.
Well, how do you mean?
She quit last Saturday.
We got all the information available on Dorothy Kirkman from the store's personnel files, and then we called the office and gave them a description of the stolen fur. We asked them to check the Kirkman girl through R&I. She had no previous criminal record. Before we left the store, we went to the fur department, talked to all the salespeople concerned, but we were unable to come up with anything new regarding the theft of the silver blue mink stole. We drove out to Dorothy Kirkman's last known address. She wasn't at home, but her mother was. The mother told us that the day before, her daughter had started on a new job as a sales girl at the house of Raymond,
an exclusive shop specializing in all types of cosmetics. We checked the phone book and found that the house of Raymond was located in the same 10-block stretch along Wilshire Boulevard where the shoplifting campaign was going on. It was one of the few places along there that the thieves hadn't bothered. It was 3 blocks from Anthony's store for women, the Kirkman girl's former place of employment. 4:05 p.m. We located her behind one of the front counters. Across the aisle, half a dozen women were listening to a makeup demonstrator giving a talk on complexion care. Dorothy Kirkman seemed pleasant and cooperative.
No, I don't mind telling you. I got sick and tired of being called a thief. That's why I quit Anthony's. Well, that goes a long way.
You started work here at Raymond's yesterday, Miss Kirkman, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I think I'm going to like it a lot better than Anthony's.
Mm-hmm. While you were working here at Anthony's, ma'am, I suppose you'd heard that quite a bit of shoplifting was going on.
Yes, I knew about it. Guess every girl in the store knew it. They had a big personnel meeting about it.
Do you have any suspicions of your own, Miss Kirkman?
How do you mean that?
Well, I mean, was there anyone in particular that you might have been a little suspicious of? Maybe one of the customers?
No. I've waited on some real weird ones, but I didn't see any of them ever try to walk out with anything.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew was what Mr. Elliott told us at that meeting.
Well, this might be an embarrassing question for you, miss, and we'd appreciate an honest answer.
Yes?
What about the sales girls you worked with? Did any of them ever give you cause to be suspicious?
You mean, do I think any of them were doing the stealing? No. There were some of them I didn't like. I didn't trust them either. But I wouldn't accuse them of stealing. I wouldn't accuse anybody unless I had proof. That's more than I can say for some people I know.
Well, by any chance, did you happen to be in Anthony's this past Monday?
Monday? No, why do you ask?
When you were working on the 5th floor up the street at Anthony's, we understand that when the merchandise first started disappearing, a pretty good percentage of it was out of your section.
That's what they told me, yes.
And then when you were transferred downstairs to the cosmetics counter, quite a few things started disappearing from there. Now, we'd like an honest answer, Miss Kirkman. Do you have any explanation at all for this?
I'll tell you the same thing I told him at the store, Sergeant. I can't explain it. But I didn't have anything to do with it, believe me.
Well, you'll have to admit, miss, it's pretty much of a coincidence, isn't it?
Sergeant, you can call it anything you want to. I didn't have anything to do with it. The only thing I ever took home from that store was my paycheck. Would you excuse me, please? Customer, I have to wait on.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
What do you think?
I don't know. She's a nice enough girl. Seems to be telling the truth. Could be a coincidence, the way it worked out.
Nothing to prove otherwise.
4:38 p.m. We finished questioning the suspect, Dorothy Kirkman, and Ben and I went back to the office and made arrangements to have the girl kept under temporary surveillance. A bulletin had been gotten out on the missing fur stole. The pawn shop detail had been notified, and a description of the fur had been placed on the stolen property list. The following day, along with Sergeants Dick Rubles and Jim Tabor, we continued our investigation of the latest shoplifting complaints. It went slow, a lot of legwork, and no progress. Like the dozens of other items of merchandise which had vanished in the last 8 weeks, there wasn't a trace of the missing fur stole. More men were added to the special detail on duty in the 10-block area where the stealing was going on. Anybody in the city who'd ever served time for shoplifting was checked and rechecked. Constant surveillance was maintained over a half a dozen known thieves who we figured might be involved. It got us nothing. Wednesday, August 23rd, 5:30 p.m. No leads, no progress. We went back to the office.
Sure hope I get home before 6 o'clock tonight. I want to see that shoe repairman out in our neighborhood.
What's the matter? You need some half-soles?
No. I went in their shop the other day and he conned me into a new set of arch supports. Matter of fact, he didn't even call them arch supports.
What did he say they were?
Metatarsal supports. You know, supports the metatarsal?
Yeah.
That's one of the bones in the foot. He sold me a pair of these things and told me I should wear only one of them in my right shoe.
Yeah, what's the matter with that? Isn't it working out?
Miserable. Feel like I've been walking around with one foot in a bucket. I'll check the bill.
Okay. Anything?
Yeah, sure is, from Rubens.
What do you got?
That mink fur. It's been found.
2 hours before, at approximately 3:30 p.m. in the main depot of the Santa Fe bus lines, a 38-year-old housewife, or Mrs. Harriet Briggs, noticed an unclaimed parcel lying on one of the benches in the depot waiting room. When it became apparent to Mrs. Briggs that the parcel was either lost or forgotten, she picked it up and took it to the clerk in charge of lost and found articles. In checking the package for some kind of identification, they discovered the silver blue mink stole inside. The car was dispatched to pick up the fur, and it was identified as the garment taken from Anthony's fur salon. Mrs. Briggs volunteered to come along to the office to give what information she could. A stakeout was placed at the bus depot in case anybody called for the package. 5:50 p.m. We interviewed Mrs. Briggs in the squad room.
That's right, officer. It was just a little before 3:30. I was in the bus depot there waiting for my husband. That's when I first noticed this package lying on the bench just across from me.
I see. What'd you go on, please, Miss Briggs?
I didn't think anything of it at first. I went on reading the afternoon paper, but no one came for the package. It was just lying there. It was there a long time.
Well, how long would you say, ma'am? I mean, before you picked it up and took it to the lost and found clerk?
Oh, I'd say 20 minutes, half an hour. That much at least. I left it with the young man at the counter there, and I told him I'd be back to see if anyone claimed it. Well, when I did get back, that's after I had dinner with my husband, Carl, we found out what was in the package. It's certainly strange. Don't you think, officer?
Yes, ma'am. Did you happen to notice at all who it was that left the package there?
Well, I'm not really sure, officer, but I think I know who it was. A tall woman. She had a brown jacket, if I remember rightly. I think you'd say she was in her early 30s.
Have you ever seen this woman before, Miss Briggs?
No, I never did. Very attractive, as I recall. She wore glasses.
Anything else about her you might have noticed?
Let me think. She had blonde hair. I remember that much. And the reason I do remember it is because she wore it like I used to when I was a girl, you know, sort of back in a bun like this.
And you're pretty sure that this woman you described is the one who left the package there?
Mm-hmm. If I remember rightly, she's the only one that sat across from me. Guess it must be her. If it wasn't her, I don't know who else it could have been.
All right, Miss Briggs, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
That beautiful fur. I know that woman must be just sick about losing it. Certainly hope you find her, officer.
Yes, ma'am, so do we. We had the stats office make a run for us, and all females with shoplifting records who fitted the description of the woman who'd left the mink stole in the waiting room at the bus depot. The following morning, we checked with the men on stakeout at the depot. They told us nobody had come back to report losing such a parcel. Together with Rubles and Tabor, we spent most of the day checking out the names on the list of known shoplifters which the stats office had made up for us, names of possible suspects who physically resembled the tall blonde woman seen at the depot. We got nowhere. Either they had ironclad alibis, or they had since moved out of the city. We ran down every possible angle on the freak recovery of the missing fur stole. During the next 10 days, the case got more involved than it already was. Some of the stolen articles of new merchandise began showing up, but not through any of the channels we expected. Some of the items were found dumped in sidewalk refuse cans. Some were found in hotel lobbies, in the post office, in theaters. Some were found tossed in vacant lots. The only logical answer we could figure was that it was the work of somebody who was stealing for just the love of stealing, a kleptomaniac. Tuesday, September 4th. A 15-year-old girl in one of the exclusive residential neighborhoods reported finding 2 parcels containing women's clothing and expensive costume jewelry. They still had the price tags on them, and they totaled $360. Ben and I drove out to talk to the girl, a Patricia Denvers.
Where'd you happen to find these things, Patricia?
Empty lot right down the block there. I was on my way home from the show. I took the things home and showed my mother. She called the police. If nobody claims this package with the costume jewelry, can I keep it? Certainly beautiful.
No, I'm afraid not, miss. We know who the things belong to. We're going to have to return them.
Oh, I certainly don't understand that.
Well, how do you mean?
As far as I could see, she threw the things away. I thought she didn't want them.
What do you mean? Who didn't want them?
Well, the lady who threw them in the empty lot.
You saw who it was that threw the packages in that lot, did you?
Yes, I was on my way home from the show, just like I told you. I could see this lady walking up ahead of me. She was about a block away, I guess. When she went by the lot, I saw her take these packages from under her arm and toss them in the grass. She wouldn't do that if she wanted them, would she?
Did you get a good look at this woman? You have any idea what she looks like?
She's a good-looking woman. Tall. Has beautiful blonde hair. Her husband's a doctor.
And you know who she is? You've seen her before?
Well, I don't know her to talk to. I just see her around the neighborhood.
Does she live around here? Do you know that?
Yeah, right next door to my girlfriend.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. If you smoke king-size cigarettes, Listen to Fatima's amazing new offer.
Buy a pack of Fatimas. Enjoy their extra mildness and superbly blended tobaccos.
If you don't like Fatima's better than the king-size cigarette you are now smoking, return the pack with the unused Fatimas, and we'll give you your money back plus postage.
We make this amazing offer because we believe Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes.
Smokers all over the country are confirming this every day.
Here is the latest state-by-state report.
State 1, Fatima sales up 69%. 2, sales up 118%. 3, sales up 92%. 4, sales up 142%. And those are just a few.
Remember, if you're not convinced Fatima is better than your present king-size cigarette, just return the pack with the unsmoked Fatimas before December 1st and get your money back plus postage. Fatima, Box 37, New York 1. Buy Fatima. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Tuesday, September 4th, 5:15 p.m. With the help of the 15-year-old girl, Patricia Denvers, we got the name and address of the woman who had been seen tossing the parcels of stolen merchandise into a vacant lot in the west end of the city. The woman was identified as a Mrs. Virginia Sterling, the wife of a Dr. Bruce Sterling, a fairly prominent young surgeon with offices in Beverly Hills. Mrs. Sterling and her husband had no children. They leased a richly furnished apartment in a residential section of the city that was considered better than the upper middle class. We checked Virginia Sterling through R&I, but she had no previous criminal record that we knew of. Together with Sergeants Rubles and Tabor, we covered the various stores along Wilshire Boulevard that had been victimized in the recent shoplifting campaign. We found that Mrs. Sterling had charge accounts at almost every one of the stores. Generally speaking, we found her accounts in very good standing, and among the store people, she was regarded as what is referred to as a fine customer, a good spender, and a good credit risk. Right down to the Retail Credit Association, there was nothing but favorable reports on the woman. 7:15 p.m., Ben and I had a hamburger and some chili and a cup of coffee for dinner, and then we drove out to the apartment of Dr. Sterling and his wife. Mrs. Sterling answered the door and invited us in. We identified ourselves. She told us the doctor was out on a call. She showed us into the living room. Modern furniture, indirect lighting, expensive rugs.
Won't you sit down, gentlemen?
Thank you very much.
Should I get you a drink? I was just having my coffee and brandy.
No, thank you, Miss Sterling.
I really don't know when the doctor will be back. He was called over to the hospital. Is there anything I could help you with?
Well, as a matter of fact, Mrs. Sterling, we came out to talk to you, not your husband.
Oh, really? What is it you wanted to talk to me about, Sergeant Romano?
Well, ma'am, we understand that you do quite a bit of your shopping along Wilshire Boulevard. Is that right?
Well, yes, I shop downtown quite often. Except the problem of parking, I find it a lot more convenient. Why do you ask?
Miss Sterling, do you do much of your shopping at Anthony's? I believe that's out in the Wilshire district.
Yes, I do. For my sports clothes, especially. They have a very good selection.
Mm-hmm. Would you remember if you were in Anthony's on the 22nd of last month? I believe that was a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday. No, I don't think I could remember one way or the other. I really don't have any special day for shopping. I just go when I feel like it or when I need something.
Have you ever been in the first round of Anthony's, ma'am? Have you ever made any purchases there?
I suppose I've been in almost every department at Anthony's at one time or another. I can tell you, though, I've never bought any furs there. As I told you, the main reason I go there at all is because of their sportswear. Could you tell me what this is about, please?
Routine investigation, ma'am. I wonder if you could tell us this. Do you have any occasion to travel in the area of the Santa Fe bus depot?
By bus? No. I don't think I've been on a bus since I've been married, and that'll be 6 years this coming December.
You've never been in the Santa Fe bus depot downtown, then?
No. I think I know where it is. I've driven past it. I've never been inside, though. Why should you want to know that?
Well, Miss Sterling, we're going to be honest with you. This has to do with an investigation we're on. Now, we've had a couple of reports that you were seen at the Santa Fe bus depot on August 23rd. That was on a Wednesday. Reports came from pretty reliable people.
Well, I certainly consider myself reliable, and I say I've never been there. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like some kind of explanation for this questioning.
You mean you have no idea why we drove out here to talk to you?
Well, of course not. Number one, I don't understand your questions at all. Number two, I'd like to know what they have to do with me.
What has this to do with you, ma'am? Last August 23rd, a woman in a brown sports jacket answering your description left a package in the Santa Fe bus depot. This package contained a mink stole taken from Anthony. The woman who left the package in the depot fits your description perfectly.
Is that so? It's a coincidence.
Yes, ma'am, maybe. I suppose you've read in the papers about the big increase in shoplifting. Most of it's taking place right in the area where you say you do most of your buying. Well, we've checked out every single one of the cases, Ms. Sterling. Took us a long time. We found a dozen salespeople in those stores. Every one of them tells us that you were around the particular store when the shoplifting took place. Law of averages, Ms. Sterling. You show up too often in the reports.
Would you please leave my house? Both of you, please.
I'm sorry, Miss Sterling, but you'd have to come along with us.
What do you mean by that? Don't you know you can get in trouble making false accusations? I'm going to call my husband right now.
Yes, ma'am, if you like. Go right ahead.
Sergeant.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it? What do you want to know? You can tell me.
I think you know already.
What do you want? Tell me, please.
We've got your story, ma'am. Right up to this afternoon. You went shopping today. You stole things as usual. When you tried to get rid of them, you were seen right in this neighborhood. The vacant lot down in the next corner, you threw them away there. Somebody saw you.
They didn't know it was me.
Yes, ma'am, they knew it was you.
Yes. How can I make them understand? Do you know?
No, ma'am.
Horrible. Shame. I couldn't tell my husband. I couldn't tell Bruce. I couldn't.
Well, never mind. We'll tell him for you. 9:35 p.m. We got in the car and drove Mrs. Sterling downtown to the city hall. We took her to the interrogation room, called a police stenographer, and we began to take her complete statement. One of the first things she did was to admit full responsibility for the series of shopliftings which had been going on for over 2 months. She told us that her kleptomania, the urge to steal things, had started with her as far back as her junior high school years. She admitted as a girl she stole books, tablets, pencils, pieces of chalk. And as she grew older, it seemed to get more serious with her. It carried over into her college years. And that's when her stealing first got her into trouble.
It's when I joined the sorority. It was just like high school. I was all alone. We had a lot of clever girls in our house. Some of them were smart, some of them were pretty. All of them seemed to be doing something except me. I had to prove it to them. I guess I had to prove it to myself. I was smart, too.
You figured that taking things was the best way to prove that.
Yes, I suppose so. Of course, it wasn't easy, you know. The awful part was I got caught one day. It was kind of a relief in a way. I mean, how could they know I was just as smart as they were? They didn't find out what I was doing.
Did you stay on at college after that, Miss Sterling?
Oh, no, I couldn't after that. They voted me out of the sorority. There wasn't anything to do but leave, so I left.
Uh-huh. What happened after that?
I went to New York and stayed with an aunt I had there. Got a job. Had several jobs. The same thing came up again. I lost 2 of the jobs. Same thing over again. I just couldn't help it. Always means so much to me. Taking things, not being caught, getting away. Getting away. Things I took, they never meant anything to me. Nothing. Just taking them, not having anyone knowing. That's all that was important. It made up for that feeling, being all alone.
Yes, ma'am. And this thing went on, I mean, even after you were married?
No, not at first. I guess maybe a year or 2. We were very happy, Bruce and I. And then he got busy. Came out here and began to build his practice. I didn't see as much of him. We both wanted children. We wanted them very much. There weren't any. Bruce began to spend more time away from home. Just like before. Same thing. I wasn't important. I was all alone again. Wasn't anybody. You know what I mean, don't you, cousin?
Yes, ma'am.
There ought to be an answer someplace. There isn't anything worse than being alone. Is there?
I get it. Interrogation room Friday. Yeah, Dick. Mm-hmm. He is on his way now? Yeah, right. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Sterling just called. Said he was on his way in. He ought to be here in a couple of minutes.
I don't want to see Bruce. He's so good. I wouldn't know how to tell him.
Don't worry, ma'am. He'll be all right.
No. I'm alone. He's alone. It'll never be all right anymore.
Well, he's on his way in now, and he wants to see you.
What can I tell him? What's it going to be like? What's going to happen after this?
I don't know, ma'am, but you won't be alone anymore.
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On December 9th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 88, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
And now, here's our star, Jack Webb.
Thank you. Friends, a few minutes ago, we told you exactly why smokers all over the country are switching to king-size Fatimas. It's because Fatimas are extra mild, because they have a much better flavor and aroma. Now, if you haven't tried Fatimas yet, here's where you come in. We feel so sure that you'll enjoy Fatima quality that we make this offer. Buy a pack of Fatimas. If you don't like Fatimas better than the king-size cigarette you've been smoking, just return the pack and the unsmoked cigarettes and we'll send you your money back, plus postage. You see, we're convinced that Fatima is the best of all king-size cigarettes. Buy a pack of Fatimas today. I know you'll agree.
Mrs. Virginia Sterling was tried and convicted on several counts of grand theft and received a sentence as prescribed by law, the terms to run concurrently. Grand theft is punishable by imprisonment for not less than 1 or more than 10 years. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, transcribed from Los Angeles. The story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. A dozen churches in your city are victimized by a team of experienced safe burglars. You track the suspects for weeks. You finally apprehend 3 men. Your job? Convict them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Sunday, March 5th. It was cloudy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Ben Romano. The boss is Captain Wisdom. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the record bureau, and it was 11:30 p.m. when I got to room 25A, the interrogation room. Excuse me, Ben?
Yeah, Joe?
Got a minute?
Yeah, sure. Wait here, Bryson. Back in a minute. All right.
Yeah? Let's go out in the hall. How you doing with Bryson? Did he tell you anything?
No, he won't never saying. How about the other 2 men?
No, nothing. They're sitting tight, waiting for their lawyer to show up. Had all 3 of them checked through R&I. Bryson's a 2-time loser, burglary, GTA. His 2 partners served time for robbery.
We shouldn't have too much trouble putting them away. We got a good enough collection of physical evidence.
Well, maybe.
Heard from the crime lab yet?
No, not yet. I'd feel a lot better about it if we'd get Bryson to cop out.
Let's call him again, huh?
Yeah, might as well not move. Go ahead.
Keep your seat, Bryson. I've got a few more questions for you.
Excuse me. I thought you had it all squared away by now. I thought you were going to say I could leave by now.
No, afraid not, Bryson. You haven't even given us a story yet.
Well, I told you I didn't have anything to do with it. It seems pretty obvious I did, and I thought you'd take my word for it.
Can you think of any reason why we should? You lied to us once already, didn't you?
I didn't lie to you. I told you the truth. I didn't break into that church. I didn't have anything to do with it.
On the way in here, we asked you if you'd ever been arrested before, and you told us no. Our record bureau says you're a 2-time loser.
Oh, well, Well, I'm sorry about that, Sergeant. I really am. When you picked me up, I guess I got a little nervous. I didn't mean to lie to you. I was just a little mixed up, I guess.
You got a little time to settle down. You ought to be able to tell us your story now. Just relax and take your time, huh?
Martin? Well, what did the other two fellows tell you, Miller and Henderson?
Well, what difference did that make to you?
Well, it might make a lot of difference, Sergeant.
You just tell us your story. That's all we ask. What were you doing at the scene of the burglary? What business did you have there? If you weren't mixed up in it, you got nothing to hide.
I haven't got anything to hide. I just don't want to involve a lot of innocent people, that's all.
Anything you tell us is going to help you, you know that. Now, how about it?
All right, Sergeant. Strictly confidential. Huh? Well, one of those other fellows you picked up tonight, the dark-haired fellow, his name's Miller. Tony Miller. He's engaged to marry my sister.
Yeah, well, I said you had to do that.
Well, please, give me a chance.
All right.
I'd like to lay it all out for you.
Go ahead.
Well, ever since my sister got engaged to Miller, I've been worried about it. I never liked him to begin with. Lately, I've been keeping an eye on Miller, him and that friend of his, Henderson.
Yeah?
I knew they were up to something, and then I read in the paper about that string of church burglaries, that guys breaking into churches, nothing to say.
Yeah.
Well, I had an idea it was Miller and his friend.
How do you mean, Barton? What made you think it was him?
I had an idea, that's all. I couldn't prove anything. It was just a hunch.
You must have had some reason to suspect him.
Nothing definite, no. I just knew something was wrong, that they were up to something. Well, then, early tonight, I saw a friend of Tony Miller. They were on the bars in the neighborhood. I talked to him a while, and he finally told me that Miller and Henderson were out working a deal. Said they were going to break into a church over on 8th Street and knock over the safe.
Well, how come this friend of Miller's let you in on it?
Well, I guess he thought I was a pretty close friend of Tony's. He knew Tony was going to marry my sister. Anyway, when I found out about it, I got over to that church as fast as I could. I wanted to find Miller and Henderson and try and talk them out of it. I didn't want any guy who was going to marry my sister getting into trouble like that. Maybe going to jail for burglary.
No, Miller's been in jail before. I suppose you knew that.
Yeah, I knew it, but that was before he was engaged to my sister.
You met Miller and Henderson outside the church, did you?
No, I was too late. They'd already broken into the place. So I went around the back of the church, and I saw one of the stained glass windows was broken where they'd gotten in. I climbed up on the sill there, and I could see them working inside it. Some kind of a small back room. They were working on the safe, both of them, Miller and Henderson.
That's so. What'd you do then?
Well, I tried to talk them out of it. They wouldn't listen.
Mm-hmm. I suppose you can prove your story. I mean, that friend you met in the bar, the one who tipped you off about the burger, I guess he'd be willing to back up your story.
Well, I'm not sure, Sergeant. He might lie. He might not want to get involved.
How about Miller and Henderson? They'll back it up, won't they? If you weren't involved in the deal, there wouldn't be any reason for them to implicate you, would
But Tony Miller thinks it's my fault he's in jail. He hates me. You can't take his word for anything. Probably the first thing he'd do is lie about it, and Henderson, too.
Well, and who you got to corroborate your story?
Well, maybe nobody, but it's the truth. I swear to you it's the truth. I'll tell the same thing in court if I have to. They got to believe me.
You're asking a lot, Matthew.
That's the way it happened, so help me.
Yeah.
Now, tell me the truth, Sergeant. You know I didn't have a hand in it. If it goes to court, they couldn't convict me, could they? Come on, what do you think?
I think you're a liar. To the working detective, the one logical way to appraise a known criminal is by his record. You estimate him the same way you check a particular make-up automobile, a racehorse, or a radio set, by past performance. By refusing to buy his trumped-up story, we didn't figure that we were doing the suspect Charles Bryson an injustice. Bryson was 37 years old. He'd spent 13 of those 37 years in prison, either the county jail or the state penitentiary. His criminal record dated back to the time he was 20 years old. Besides serving numerous shorter terms for lesser offenses in the county jail, Bryson had spent 2 terms in the state penitentiary for burglary. Despite the efforts of the probation officers, the adult authority, and the rehabilitation officials to help him, he seemed content to go along in his criminal career. In this particular case, the series of church burglaries, we had good reason to believe that Bryson and his 2 accomplices, Miller and Henderson, were the guilty men. All 3 of them were booked at the main jail on suspicion of 459 PC. The next morning, Ben and I checked in at the crime lab.
Lee Jones, you around?
Yeah, I'm here. Come on back.
Oh, how about that? They gave the place a new coat of paint.
Yeah, sure needed it.
Good morning, fellas.
How you doing, Lee?
That set of burglary tools those thieves were using in that church last night. Just finished checking them over. Might have 2 or 3 things for you.
What do you got, Lee?
Have a look over here. You find set of tools, I take it the thieves had a lot of practice.
All 3 of them had records. How about some of the other physical evidence you got, man?
One thing at a time, Joe. First of all, these tools here. Small sledge, these 3 jimmy, pinch bar, and a screwdriver. I think we can tie them in with at least 6 of those church burglaries. I think we can do it for certain.
Good enough for 3 convictions?
I think so, if the jury's listening.
Well, how you got it worked out, Lee? Tool markings?
That's part of it, yeah. I want you to take a look at this pinch bar here. They did a lot of their work with this. I guess I don't have to tell you there aren't 2 identical pinch bars in the world that could leave the same exact markings on a piece of woodwork or on a safe.
Yeah.
There aren't a pair of tools in the world that leave the same markings on anything.
Yeah, we know, but can you show a jury positively that the thieves used this pinch bar here on 6 of the jobs they pulled?
That's the idea. I compared specimen markings of every one of these tools against the markings made at the point of entry on 6 of the churches these thieves broke into. In every case, the markings match perfectly.
These are the tools that made him, no doubt about it. The screwdriver, the set of windows, and the pinch bar.
No, it sure won't hurt our case any. Get anything else, mate?
I examined the end of the pinch bar under the microscope, checked the screwdriver and Jimmy's too. The tips of each one of them are contaminated with particles of paint, different kinds of paint. I've already compared these paint transfers with samples of paint taken from the exterior of those churches that were broken into. Each one of them, they match all the way. The color of the paint, the age, degree of oxidation, the lead content, compares perfect. Now, come over here, something else.
What you got there, huh?
These are the shoes the two men you found inside the church were wearing. These are the foot impressions the boys from Leighton Prince lifted off the floor in front of the safe inside the church.
Yeah, so...
The linoleum on that church floor showed up the dust impressions of the feet pretty good.
Did you make the prints?
Well, the boys from Leighton Prince did, yeah. Good impressions. See here? General size of the shoe, the make, heel impressions, the wear pattern on the sole here, the whole general characteristics of both pair of shoes. Matches up to a T.
How much is that going to mean to a jury, Mike?
Well, it means a lot. It's the truth. It's the same thing I've been telling you. It's the same thing. I'd like to tell every cop in the department, if you can place an object at the scene of a crime beyond a reasonable doubt, then don't go thrashing around looking for an object that's an exact duplicate. Don't play hawkshaw. Any microscope will tell you there are no two things in this world exactly identically alike. I don't care if it's a pair of shoes, a gun, a crowbar, or your two front teeth. And after it lines up for me, think you're going to have trouble?
I don't know, Lee. We shouldn't have.
You got the three of them at the scene of the crime. That ought to be enough for the court.
Yeah, I hope so.
You don't sound sure.
Well, Lee, there's only one time I'm sure about figures like Bryson.
Yeah?
When they check him in at San Quentin. 2 days later, Charles Bryson and his two accomplices, Henderson and Miller, were arraigned in municipal court on a date set for their preliminary hearing. 4 days later, the preliminary hearing was held, and the three of them were bound over for arraignment in Superior Court. In the weeks that followed, before their arraignment and Superior Court trial, Ben and I worked along with the district attorney's office preparing the case against the three men, taking statements, running down additional evidence, checking and rechecking, piecing together the facts which we hoped would earn a conviction for each of the criminals. We weren't positive that had happened. The strongest part of our case was going to come out of the crime lab, the testimony of Lee Jones. And we knew as well as Lee did that, generally speaking, juries are not too much in sympathy with scientific fact when it has to do with physical evidence. Generally, they don't follow technical cases too well. We also knew that the three defendants had a good lawyer, a clever one. Getting convictions wasn't going to be easy. The trial opened in Superior Court June 2nd. Ben and I testified when we were called on. On the morning of June 9th, the jury retired to deliberate. Late that afternoon, we got a call from the Hall of Justice.
Yes, Millie. Yeah. Both of them, huh? I see, Well, that's life, I guess. Yes, jury's back, Joe. They came up with a verdict.
What's the story?
Henderson and Miller, they found them both guilty of first-degree burglary.
Yeah? What about Bryson?
They let him go.
Well, maybe it was no great shock to us, but after the time and effort we put in on the case, it was a disappointment. The worst of the three criminals had been set free. At the trial, Bryson had taken the stand and told the court the same cock and bull story he'd told Ben and I, that he'd gone to the church, the scene of the burglary, to plead with Henderson and Miller not to commit the crime. Bryson had a good personality and a fast line of talk. It wasn't hard to see how he could convince a jury that he was only an innocent bystander. The biggest obstacle that stood in the way of convicting Bryson was that the prosecution, the district attorney, according to law, could not call to the attention of the jury Bryson's previous criminal record, especially his two prior convictions for burglary. To them, because of the limitations of the law, he was presented as a private citizen with as much integrity and as clean of any previous guilt as you or your neighbor. Henderson and Miller were committed to the state penitentiary to serve sentences as prescribed by law, and Charles Bryson, shortly after the trial, left the city. 2 months passed. Saturday, August 8th, I started on my vacation. 2 weeks later, on August 22nd, I checked back in for work.
Hi, Joe. Good to see you.
Hi, Jim. What's been doing?
Oh, not too much. How'd the vacation go?
Well, pretty good, thanks. Mother and I went up north to visit some relatives up in Marin County. It was a nice trip for her. She hadn't been feeling too well, you know.
Oh, that's too bad. Get any fishing done?
A little, yeah.
That's sure beautiful country up there.
You been around?
No, I took off today. He's been putting in some full days while you've been gone.
Oh, that's all? Anything special doing?
Oh, nothing too big. String of chain store burglaries, south end of town. I've been working along with Ben.
Yeah? Giving you much trouble?
It's been going a couple of weeks. It's not getting any better. We're beginning to feel the pressure a little.
Well, how's it stand? Any leads on the suspect?
Just one.
Yeah?
A guy by the name of Charles Bryson.
When our suspect, Charles Bryson, left Los Angeles after his trial some 3 months before,
We had reports that he was headed east for the city of Memphis, Tennessee. In subsequent weeks, we had word that he was also seen in St. Louis, Missouri, where police officers had him under surveillance as a possible suspect in a robbery there. On or about August 10th, the St. Louis police lost track of Bryson. A week later, the newest series of burglaries began throughout Los Angeles. The thief's M.O. matched that of Bryson down to the last detail. The places burglarized were chain stores, supermarkets generally. The method of entry was the same, prying open a back window with a pinch bar or similar tool. The manner in which the safes were opened in the various business places, that matched too. So did 5 sets of foot impressions found at the scene of 5 different burglaries, each of them made by a man wearing tennis shoes. The operation corresponded exactly to the way Bryson worked. But there was one big hitch in the investigation. Nobody could be sure Bryson was back in town. No one had seen him. No one had heard from him. Monday, August 24th, 8 a.m.
Got us running in circles so far, Joe. I can't figure it. I bet lunch money is Bryson, but we can't even start to prove it.
Well, how about the people in town Bryson runs with? They all been checked out?
The one we know about, yeah. His friends, relatives, always know him hang out. We've been over it every inch of the way. If anybody knows, they're not saying. There's no trace of them.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Maybe we're wrong. Go ahead.
What do you mean maybe we're wrong?
Well, the only lead we've got is the M.O. Bryson isn't the only thief who operates that way. It could be another man using the same system.
Yeah, we thought about that.
You ran a check through the stats office?
Yeah, The only known burglars in our records who operate like Bryson are either in jail or out of town or they're dead. We checked it through a couple of times. Keeps coming out the same way. Bryson's the only strong lead we got.
Yeah, but I got it. Burglary Friday. Yes, sir. You know Sir Sergeant Tabor's out right now. Is there any message? Well, I guess about 10 minutes. Yes, sir. Right. I'll tell him. Thank you. You're sure that the M.O. on all these jobs matches Bryson, huh?
All the way. That's what's got me stumped. If the guy is pulling these jobs and he is in town, somebody should have spotted him. These chain stores he's hitting. We've had stakeouts on him for 10 days. I've got every informant we know watching for Bryson, and not a sign.
A minute ago, Jim said they'd call back. Oh, thanks. Get this teletype this morning. I've got nothing from San Quentin. Might be a line on Bryson.
Let me see.
An answer on that mail watch we're asking for. What angle's this, Ben?
You remember church burglaries, Miller and Henderson, 2 Lieutenant San Quentin?
Oh, yeah. You asked Clinton for a mail watch on both of them, did you?
Yeah, I figured there was a chance Bryson might write to him. Looks like it got us a lead.
Well, what have they got there?
Well, it's from the warden's office, and so it says, regarding your request on information concerning Charles Bryson, on August 22nd, Anthony Miller, on number 172-156J, received letter from person signing himself George Cameron. Contents of letter suspicious.
Cameron. That mean anything to you? We just checked Bryson's package again down to R&I. Cameron was his mother's maiden name. Bryson's used it as an alias before, quite a few times. How about the return address on the letter, Ben? Los Angeles?
Main post office, general delivery.
Monday, 10 a.m. We alerted the post office detail and arranged for a mail watch on all incoming letters through general delivery addressed to Charles Bryson, George Cameron, or to another of the suspect's known aliases. A week passed. No sign of Bryson, no trace of any of his correspondence through general delivery. Another week went by. 2 more chain store burglaries. The M.O. in each case was the same. It matched closely to Bryson's known working habits. But despite our precautions and the close check we maintained on his friends and his known hangouts, the suspect still remained unseen and unheard from. On September 9th, an informant of Ben's called us at the office and told us he thought he'd seen Bryson the night before.
Yeah, Matty, where was that? Yeah, right, we'll check it, thanks. Bye. Bryson's supposed to have been seen there from Mont and Beverly Boulevard last night, drinking in a bar up here.
You pretty sure it was Bryson?
He thinks so, yeah. Got the name of the place here. We can check with the bartender, see if he can identify Bryson's mugshot.
Right. I'll get my top coat, huh?
All right.
I get it. Burglary Friday. Yes, sir. When was that? Yeah, go ahead. I got it. Yes, sir, right away. Post office detail. Bryson called for a mail at the general delivery half an hour ago.
Where is he? They following?
280 Glenmore, apartment 6. He's there now.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action.
September 9th, Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. The burglary suspect, Charles Bryson, was placed under surveillance at the apartment where he'd gone immediately after calling for his mail at the general delivery window in the main post office. 3 teams of men were assigned the job of following Bryson alternately, 24 hours a day. We waited for a chance to get into his apartment and search it while it was empty, but it never occurred. Somebody was always there, either Bryson or a tall, dark-haired woman, his common-law wife. During the week that followed, the suspect was watched everywhere he went. He attempted no burglaries. On the 8th day, the stakeout was removed. 3 nights later, 2 burglaries were committed. Both jobs bore the marks of the suspect's M.O., but we couldn't prove a thing against him. We knew the setup we had was going nowhere. If we wanted to get Bryson red-handed, if we wanted a case against him that'd stand up in any court, we had to find a new approach. Lee Jones came up with an idea.
There's a jar of stuff right here. The technical name for it's anthracene. I guess you heard of it?
I think I've heard you mention the name, Lee. That's about all.
Some kind of luminous powder, isn't it? It glows in the dark.
No, not exactly. Here, take a look at some. There, you see? Colorless, odorless, no smell at all to it. It's a coal tar product. We call it crystalline hydrocarbon.
I see.
Now, here's the point of the thing. When you take this anthracene powder and rub it into the surface of an object, it's completely invisible with naked eye. You never know it's there. Here, let me show you.
How about my coat sleeves?
Yeah, that'll do. Dust the powder all over it. Some in your hand, too. Rub it in, like so. Now, can you see or feel any of the powder where I put it on?
No, nothing there.
Now, let me switch on this lamp here. This is an ultraviolet light. Now, watch when I turn it on your arm where we rubbed on the powder.
Well, look at your hand, Joe. Like it's lighting up.
Yeah, my coat sleeve, too. It's glowing. How about it? Will this stuff rub off, Lee?
Try it. You're spreading it all over yourself, everything you touch. Yeah. Anything harmful in it, Lee?
No. Now, watch when I turn the lamp off. You see? Gone. Never even know you had it on. Only time it shows up is under ultraviolet light.
Well, does it stay on you indefinitely, Lee?
No, the maximum is generally about, say, 24 hours.
You guarantee it'll work, huh?
Well, all physics, Joe. Under the proper conditions, it's got to. It's just what I tell my classes up at the academy. Crooks and chorus girls have one thing in common.
Yeah?
They show up better when you put them under the right kind of light.
When we left Lee Jones at the crime lab, we figured we had the potential solution in our hands, but there was still a lot to be done before we could go into any court of law with a case that we were positive was strong enough to convict Charles Bryson. Number 1, we had to get into his apartment when it was unoccupied, find the set of burglary tools he was using, and douse them thoroughly with anthracene. The same for the clothes he worked in. Number 2, we had to get Bryson into custody within 24 hours after he moved on a burglary job, or the anthracene wouldn't work. Number 3, we had to find the loot taken in the burglary in his possession. 10 days passed before we got a chance to make good on the first step.
I get it, Joe. Right. Burglar, Merrill. Yeah, Jim. Good. Fine, we'll be right out. Good break, Joe. And Bryson.
What's that?
They hold him in on a traffic warrant, speeding. Putting him into the main jail right now. Good chance to go through his apartment.
What about his wife? She's still up there, isn't she?
She's on her way to put up bail for him.
Yeah?
Apartment's empty.
By the time Bryson was bailed out, Ben and I, along with Jim Tabor and Lee Jones, had combed through Bryson's apartment and finally uncovered a set of burglary tools and work clothes carefully hidden beneath the floorboards under a kitchen cabinet directly below the sink. Lee Jones contaminated each of the tools with the invisible anthracene powder and also the work clothes. We checked the apartment for any possible loot taken in the burglaries, but we found nothing. We put everything back exactly the way we found it, and then we left and went back to the office. We stood by until 4 a.m. waiting for a call that would indicate that Bryson might be out on another burglary job. Nothing happened. The next night, up until 10 o'clock, it was the same routine. At a few minutes past 10, we got a 459 call on a chain drugstore out on Alvarado Street. Lee Jones had his portable ultraviolet light all ready to go. Ben and I picked him up at the crime lab, and the 3 of us drove to the scene of the burglary.
Straight back here, Lee. Can I help you with the light?
I can handle it, thanks.
There's the window they figure he got in. Safe there in the corner.
Yeah, there's not too much of it left. You all set, Lee?
You got the extension cord for the light, Romano?
Yeah, right here. I'm just plugging it in. Yeah, okay. Okay.
All right, switch it on, will you?
Right.
Well?
Yep.
Seems like it.
What do you got in the window there, Joe? Look at that.
Anthracene tracks all over, foot impressions there, tool marks on the safe, blood prints on the floor, on the wall.
No question. He left plenty of trail.
All right, let's get him. Lee Jones put in a call to the crime lab and ordered a photographer out to take pictures at the scene of the burglary. Lee and the photographer would stay at the scene to gather physical evidence and take pictures of the anthracene prints and markings for presentation in court. 10:52 p.m. Jones packed up the ultraviolet lamp, and Ben and I took it along with us. We drove directly to Bryson's apartment. Nobody was there.
No, nobody in the bedroom either. How about that?
I don't know. I don't get it. Bryson's had plenty of time to get back here. Over an hour.
And what about his wife? The only time we know she left was when she had to go bail him out in that traffic one.
Doesn't look like they pulled out, does it? There's a closet full of clothes in there. A lot of their personal things around.
Yeah. Sure looks like they were expecting you to come back. We might check with the apartment house manager. He could tell us if they gave notice to move. Let's see here.
What do you got?
Note here on the desk. See, he says, Charlie, I'm sorry, but I told you it just doesn't work out with us. When you read this, I'll be on my way east. I don't want to be mean with you. I just think it'll work better if we forget each other, that's all. Thanks for everything so long. Signed, Ruth.
Guess she doesn't like him much either.
No. Wait a minute.
What are you doing?
Police officers, Bryson. I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
Oh, I know who you are. I remember. What do you want?
Ben, you want to plug in that light?
Yeah, the outlet right over here.
What is all this? You said you wanted to talk to me. What's it all about?
You all set, Ben?
Just a minute. All right, okay, turn it on.
What are you doing? Hey, what are you trying to do to me?
You've done it all to yourself, mister.
Lit up like a Christmas tree, Joe. It's all over in head to foot.
The clothes, your hands. What is it? There's light glowing all over them. What are you doing?
It's a chemical, Bryson. Harmless. Same stuff you left all over the drugstore tonight. Pack up, Ben. Come on, let's go, Bryson.
I don't understand. What's this whole thing all about?
You'll understand me. Here. A note for you.
Oh.
All set, Joe.
Let's go, mister.
I guess I didn't know her. Just a tramp. I guess I should have been smart about it.
Yeah, I guess so. Come on.
How could I know? She said she was in love with me. I believed it. What am I going to say when they ask me? All our friends are all going to ask me. They'll say, what happened to Ruth? I'll say, what happened this time? What am I going to say happened this time?
What are you going to say to the jury this time?
The story you have just heard was true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
On December 10th, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 86, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial. Charles Lang Bryson was tried and convicted on 3 counts of first-degree burglary. This is punishable by imprisonment in the state penitentiary for not less than 5 years. However, due to his previous convictions on this and other felony counts, Bryson was judged an habitual criminal. He was sentenced to spend the rest of his natural life in the state penitentiary. You have just heard Dragnet, a series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.H. Parker, Los Angeles Police Department.